Let's go. Go crazy.
Y'all ready? 1, 2.
Let's go.
Look around you. At least you got a friend. Yeah, come on, lady. For a friendly word. Picked up the phone, dropped it on the floor. It's all I heard. Are we gonna let the elevator bring us down?
Let's go.
Let's go crazy.
What's up, headset? Oh, what's up? What's up?
Let's keep love. On the front from a banana to them, put in a truck. You're ready to get busy up in here. Manchester, make noise. Let the elevator bring us down.
Oh, let's go.
Oh, oh. Oh, oh. Come on, eat up.
Come on here. Nah, this is crazy. This is what we call a sound check. If you see this video, that's how you know we're going live. Call it a nice sound check to see people can see me. Uh, First of all, is my audio good? I can't hear myself. Hold on, let's see. Oh, I guess my audio is good. All right, cool. All right, so haven't done a live in a very long time. Shout out to Headset Hub. Shout out to Brennan 89. We got I mean, we can get straight into it. We got fun stuff to do today. Prince versus MJ. Why not like both? They are both legends in different ways. Uh, yeah, no, it's fun banter. It's fun banter. In regards to when you do Prince versus MJ, James Brown versus MJ. So I had an intriguing question. That's the only reason why I'm bringing it up today on live, because shout out to I think it's what about Baby Boy, loyal watcher here, had an intriguing question on one of my videos about who's the better performer between James Brown and Michael Jackson. So it had me thinking. So I'm like, I'll tackle that question. I don't care. Let's see. Amen. You match in the club, so I couldn't know some of the videos popped up. Oh, you watch? Yeah, I watch. Oh yeah. Yeah, I watch In the Clutch. Yeah, yo, they hilarious as hell. Like, I watch In the Clutch. If you know anything, I love reaction videos and I love people that do wrestling content. So they do all that. So yeah, shout out to them. Let me get back to the first comment I answered though. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely get that in terms of like why we gotta put people against each other. It's just all friendly banter. Like it's all good. But I ain't gonna hold you. Not having any sound is like the most distracting thing. Like I literally, it's hard to talk. So we might have to play some like soft music in the background or something, because this is like killing me, bro. Like not having no music or no noise in the background. But how we feeling? How we doing? Thursday, one day from Friday, which means almost a weekend. Oh, okay. No, it's all good. It's all good. Anything about me, just know I don't take anything that is said personally. Uh, Trust me, I know a lot of people feel a way about comments and stuff like that. You ain't gotta worry about that with me. You're not gonna see me going back and forth with people in the comment section about anything. The best you're gonna get from me is a laughing emoji. If you get a laughing emoji from me and you say something crazy, just know I don't care. So no, it's all good. Yeah. So let's see. I want to play. You know what? Let's keep it on. Let's keep it on Prince for a little while. But for those that are here, I do have a. I'm gonna give you like a heads up. Probably by tomorrow, you should be getting some Prince videos tomorrow. One is the slave trade documentary. I should be able to upload fully tomorrow. And then there's also going to be a Prince video that I know my Patreon people going to be very happy about. But I look almost like a Zordon right now. There's going to be another Prince video that is going to be nice. So just look out for that. Also got some other joints that I put on Patreon. I'm gonna upload on YouTube. I gotta show the YouTube love. That's how I got here. So let's see. Oh yeah, yeah. Yo, shout out to Headset Hub. We put a time step from the Dangerous Tour 1993 watch along. Yeah, yo, you A1 since day one. Shout out to you. Let's go. Yeah, yeah. See, that's why I rock with y'all, man. See, that's why I rock with y'all. So let's do this. Since we, no, we're not gonna do. You know what? We're not gonna do Prince. We're not gonna do Prince. Since we are already on the subject, again, shout out to what about Baby Boy that brought this up about who's a better performer, Michael Jackson or James Brown. That's a very difficult question because I feel like you have to slight the other one in order to say why you feel like the other one is better. But before we do that, let's watch a video. So just so I don't have to say it, just so I don't have to say it. Oh yeah, they're both goats for real. Like they're both goats. Like I just got done watching a Little Richard doc yesterday. And like I forgot about Little Richard. I'm like, hot damn. Yeah, Little Richard really was him. I forgot all about that. That was a great doc. It's on YouTube. I think it's called I Am Everything. I think it came out in like 2023. If y'all want to, we could do a watch along to that. Not it can't be live because they're gonna strike my video down. But if you want to see a watch along to that, then just comment and let me know. But yeah, it's a great doc on Little Richard and his influence in being the true king of rock and roll. Even though they wasn't trying to give him that title, they tried to give it to Elvis. And then it's crazy that the Tutti Frutti song basically was stolen from him, and they tried to basically white artists try to take it from him. So and then he wasn't getting paid the way he should have. It's a whole situation. But yeah, that's a great doc. Definitely go check out Little Richard I Am Everything documentary. Again, it should be on YouTube. So go check that out. Let's see. I know it is hard to pick who's a better performer because it's like one, you don't have Michael without James Brown. You can't. You literally can't do it. Now, yeah, Michael had other influences like Fred Astaire, Jackie Wilson, but I think overall, when you watch Michael, that's James Brown to me, and so it's difficult to be like, well, Michael's better when James Brown is the originator, and he was doing things that nobody else saw, especially with the band and all that, and doing off. Was I able to? No, I wasn't able to put it up on here, but I have a whole watch along of Get On Up, that movie, which it's it's intriguing to say the least. A lot of time jumps in that movie, but yeah, James Brown, he's that footwork. Yeah, that footwork is insane. Like just I have to do. I'm probably uploaded this weekend a Tammy show. That Tammy show of James Brown when they're doing the Night Train, they do Please Please. I know it's probably another song they did, but bro, what? And he had the hair laid with the fit and the jacket, like dog. That James Brown insane, man. But then it's like with Michael, it's just Michael just Michael just. I just think Michael elevated. I think Michael evolved what James Brown did, right? Because when I think of a performer, I think people automatically think of dancing, right? But it's not just that. It's like it's the whole situation, from the attire, from singing, right? And singing live. It's the band, the arrangement of the songs. How do you put it all together? So that all, the stage presence, all that comes together in regards to who's the better performer. And I just think is not a wrong answer. Like, you can say, well, James Brown never did the moonwalk, right? But then you could be like, well, I've never seen Michael Jackson do a split. Which, that's like the one thing I don't think I've ever seen him even attempt to do, which is crazy. You would think he would. Like, I've never seen Michael Jackson even attempt to do a split, which is like interesting. So there are things that James Brown, we haven't seen him do, and there are things that Michael Jackson hasn't done that James Brown has done. But let's see. Oh yeah, man. I didn't ask this in the Dangerous Tour yet, but are you going to react to 192 Dangerous Spooky Quest because it's also going? Yeah, I got some reactions to do. I still got to do the history one. I've been so busy, I haven't been able to get a chance to do that. I got to do that one. So once I get done the doing the history tour, watch along, I'm gonna run all the joints back, and I would just go off of what people, however people feel. We can go back and do watch alongs to those. So yeah, I'll definitely go back and do the Bucharest one from '92, because the one I did, Michael clearly was not well because of all the pauses and everything. He clearly was not well. He had to pause damn near every song because he probably was in so much pain and everything. I don't know why did I choose that one. I don't even know why I chose that one for real. The Argentina one. I'm trying to remember the logic behind that. I don't even know why now. There had to be a reason why I chose that. Cause I'm like looking at why did I choose this one? But yeah, we gotta run it back. Yokohama. I think that's how you say it, Yokohama. Yeah, we gotta do that one too. For the bad tour, we gotta run back the bad tour. So we gotta do that one too. Let's see. I remember I started listening to both of them more when I turned 17 in 2024. Now I'm 18 and still listening to Michael Jackson and James Brown. Oh, boy, there's a lot. Like when I want to say in my early 20s, I started to really get into James Brown. My dad, God rest his soul, had a lot of old records, and my girl at the time got me like a record player that played vinyl, and bro, James Brown is he that man, that band, the way he directs the band and his voice, the way it pierces the songs. It's like, yeah, James Brown really is him. Michael Jackson, yeah, I grew up on the Michael Jackson. Well, I grew up in both in the Michael Jackson and James Brown household, so I listen to all those songs. I grew up on them. But it's when you get into dig into the crates and really get into like the B-sides. You get into the songs that they don't play on radio all the time. Like I don't think they're playing Make It Funky. Right? When I first heard Make It Funky by James Brown, if you haven't heard that headset, listen to Make It Funky. Like that's why if you hear me, I'll randomly say in a song, if there's a horn, Maceo! Because James Brown was yelling at his one of his band members, not in a negative way, but like Maceo, because he just be yelling at Fred, like it just gonna have a funky good time, like bruh. If you ever watched, I remember getting renting from Blockbuster. Headset, you might not know but what Blockbuster is. I don't even think you were around when this is out. But Blockbuster had the original Kings of Comedy on VH. I think, was it VHS or was it DVD? By this particular point, I want to say it probably was still VHS. And Steve Harvey has a set where he's talking about old school music and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay. But then he's playing James Brown, going to have a fun, good time. He's playing Lenny Williams. And I'm like, okay, old head. But once you get older, that set hits when he's talking about music back in the day and how music ain't the same no more. And he's saying that in the 2000s. I think it was 1999 or 2000, and like, boy, boy, uh, we about to make this the Headset Hub Hey Soundwave show. Nobody else to see. Either everybody at work, everybody said bump Hey Soundwave today. It's all good. I rock with who rock with me. You hear me? They're probably gonna be on a playback. It's all good. Let's see. Also, man, I know this is a random question, but I saw the video of you reacting to J Park K-pop. If you want to continue listening to K-pop, I recommend listening to the Bay group BTS, which is funny because why I feel like I'm hunching down. It's funny because I have a video on my channel to where I do react to BTS. I think this was like 2021. I want to say it's 2021. I did react to BTS. But I think in the clip that I uploaded, I think it was Dynamite. Was it Dynamite? Actually, I can look it up right now. Hold on. I can look it up right now to see what I reacted to. But yeah, my homie Layla, she asked me what you wanna play, like pop or like trendy stuff, or do you want to play ratchet stuff? I said ratchet because I want to see how, because I'm like, ratchet. There's no way there's ratchet K-pop or whatever they deem it, that type of K-pop to be with Jay Park. I'm like, I gotta see that. I'm sorry. I know people are probably really mad. Again, that's on me. I chose to play. I chose to play that because I really wanted to. I can't move this browser for nothing, bro. This is crazy. All right, here we go. I chose to play that, but I'm gonna search right now. BTS. I think I did maybe 2 videos on BTS. So yeah, I did. How do I remember that? Dynamite and DNA. Let's see if I'll show y'all. Hold on. I'll show y'all. Here we go. Yeah, so I did Dynamite and DNA, and that was back in 2021, I believe. So, but I haven't done K-pop in a long time, so I eventually got to go back into my K-pop bag, for sure. We'll eventually get back into that. Oh, Freddie Bernalis. I believe that's your last name. What up? Fred! Oh, first time watching the stream. Hold on, let me put you up here. Let me put you on the big screen, on the Summer Jam screen. First time watching your stream. Oh, shout out to you, man. We about to have some fun. We just chilling right now. We about to do some reactions very, very soon. Just trying to see if more people will come in here. If not, it's all good. We got to start going because I definitely want to get to reacting to Michael's audiobook Moonwalk, where somebody actually did AI to Michael's voice so that it sounds like he's reading his own book. So we definitely got to do that. But shout out to Freddie. Let's see. Amy, if you want to listen to more BTS songs, I recommend Fake Love, Mic Drop, Butter, and Permission to Dance. Yeah, you know I want them dance. You know I want them dance songs. So we got to do that for sure. All right, but to answer, it should be in the title, who I deem to be the better performer between Michael Jackson and James Brown. Again, it's all fun debate. I would love to know who y'all think. If gun to your head, who you think is the better performer, I would love to know that. But let's see. I'm gonna just play this video that kind of explains where I'm coming from. Where I'm from. Shout out to Anthony Hamilton. I gotta do more. I gotta do more R&B. I don't do enough R&B on my channel, man. I gotta do more R&B. I'm a '90s R&B baby. You hear me? I'm from. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go crazy. Here we go. Let's get nuts. Let's go crazy. Let's go.
Nearly everyone has attempted to imitate Michael Jackson's legendary dance moves, whether it's his signature moonwalk or his iconic Thriller dance routine. But what you might not have realized is that as the King of Pop progressed in his prolific career, his danceability improved, and in turn, the superstar challenged himself to perform more and more elaborate dance routines, executing some moves that fans and professional performers have come to realize are almost impossible to recreate. His routines took years of practice, stamina, and an almost supernatural ability to move his body. So, here's just 5 of them that were so intense, even his own backup dancers struggled to keep up.
Now, this is the first time I've seen this, so this should be interesting.
Number 5. Jam. Jam is a track from Michael Jackson's 1991 album Dangerous. It features a fusion of pop, rock, and hip-hop, showcasing Jackson's signature vocal style and energetic production. Lyrically, Jam emphasizes themes of unity, celebration, and the power of music to bring people together. The nearest MJ would venture into rapping, its fast-paced sound wasn't helped by its energetic choreography. As showcased when the superstar performed it as the opener of his Dangerous World Tour throughout 1992 and 1993, as well as his groundbreaking Super Bowl halftime performance. The dance routine for Jam is iconic, reflecting Jackson's innovation in dance. Erupting on the stage with his toaster entrance, it combines elements of street dance and athletic movements featuring intricate footwork, sharp turns, and synchronized group formations. The routine often includes dynamic interactions with dancers, highlighting Jackson's ability to engage and energize the audience. Michael's own backup dancers described it as one of the hardest routines they ever had to perform. Why? Because the choreography was so high energy and extremely technical. You weren't just dancing, you're practically doing a full body workout, and you had to stay in sync with MJ's lightning fast moves and the stage's synchronized pyrotechnics. There was no room for mistakes, and the sheer volume of dance styles the routine drew upon meant you had to be technically an all-rounder. Number 4. Dangerous. The title track from Michael Jackson's 1991 album. The track showcased the superstar's signature blend of pop rock and new jack swing during this period, exploring themes of seduction, allure, and the complexities of love, featuring a driving beat and intricate instrumentation. Jackson's vocals convey a sense of urgency and intensity, making it a standout track that warranted an epic performance to accompany it. The routine for Dangerous was perfectly executed during the 1993 American Music Awards and was then incorporated as part of the set lists of the final leg of Dangerous World Tour. Equally as compelling, characterized by its sharp, powerful movements and
I don't know if
intricate
they're gonna talk about
choreography.
it, but no, the VMA joint. I don't think they show it. Oh yeah, they do show it. No, that VMA performance with Dangerous, bro. That low key might be. I think I did it in my top 10 MJ performances. A lot of people have that at number 1. Dangerous is like, it's so much going on, and again, it's like a stage play, but it's also a dance performance. It's like theater with the whole speech he does, which I just found out thanks to Layla, my homie, that the speech he does in Dangerous is actually from Fred Astaire. Like, he took that from Fred Astaire, actually. So, that's intriguing. The best Super Bowl halftime shows in history got to be Michael Jackson and Kendrick Lamar, but Michael is the best one, not gonna lie. I love Michael's and Kendrick's Lamar one. I love Michael, and I definitely love Kendrick Lamar's. But I think I got to put Prince above both of them. I think when Prince did In the Rain and everything he did with uh, the silhouette and playing Purple Rain in the Rain. Just I don't know. I think I might have to put Purple Rain. Purple Rain. I might have to put Prince above them, possibly. But I really do love what Kendrick did as well, which he basically made it a play, right? With Samuel Jackson doing the monologue and everything. And I just love he kept teasing doing Not Like Us, and then he did Not Like Us into TV off. Like, oh my God. But then with Michael popping up from the screens in the stadium, then he pops up on the stage and stands there for like a legit 3 minutes. And then he does his routine, and then the Heal the World, was it Heal the World at the end? Like, it broke me down. Like, if you watch my reaction to Michael Jackson's Super Bowl performance, it literally broke me down. When they're showing the whole entire arena with the kids, like, I'm like, oh God, Michael, why did it take you from us?
Jackson employs a mix of street dance, martial arts, and fluid body movements, creating a visually dynamic performance. Let's not forget, this performance was live. He didn't have the luxury of editing or doing second takes like in a music video. Everything had to be perfect, and therefore Jackson was known to practice and practice and practice once again to get every movement perfect. He once said that his father taught him to work on a routine so much that it feels second nature to you that you don't even have to think about the next move because it's so ingrained in your mind and body, you just do it.
That's why it's funny, because this one that I think it might show it right here. Hold on.
Practice would have inevitably helped with the King of Pop's stamina because Dangerous is long.
Like, he literally was out of sync here, but he was so the routine was so second nature that he was able to get right back into it, and it wasn't even noticeable.
Trained in your mind and body, you just do it. All that practice would have inevitably helped with the King of Pop's stamina because Dangerous is long. For over 5 minutes, the global icon glides across the stage, strikes dramatic poses, performs synchronized group formations and complex transitions between fast and slow movements, yet at the end, barely looks like he's broken a sweat. The performance was one of his and his fans' all-time favorites. Therefore, an updated Dangerous mix was performed at the 1995 MTV Video Music Awards, where Jackson added musical ad-libs and dazzling visual cues. For most people, just learning the steps would be hard enough, but trying to add the emotion, the intensity, the storytelling that Michael infused into every move, that's where things go from difficult to impossible. MJ would go on to perform Dangerous on his History World Tour throughout 1996 and 1997, as well as during many other later performances. Undoubtedly one of his favorite tracks.
Yeah.
Number 3. Remember the Time. The last of the Dangerous era. Remember the Time is a song by Michael Jackson, features a smooth blend of R&B and pop, and with a catchy melody. A nostalgic theme focused on love and reminiscence, with lyrics that reflect on a past romantic relationship, evoking feelings of longing and fond memories. The music video for Remember the Time is one of the most visually distinctive. Its Egyptian-themed dance breakdown is iconic and showcases Jackson's signature style. Using dance as a vehicle for storytelling, like in his zombie-inspired moves in Thriller, his hieroglyphic-inspired choreography combines fluid movements, sharp gestures, and dramatic poses. The routine requires your whole body to be in sync to create the dynamic and juxtaposing moves. Using elements of street dance, the routine could be mistaken for an aerobic exercise class in some parts, and demonstrates Michael Jackson's determination to continually push the medium of dance. This choreography
I think he's about to say it, but hold on. No, that blooper when there's the bird and both him and Iman, who's being the queen in the music video, the bird comes along and Eddie just like, oh, and nobody moved except Eddie. Yo, that blooper is hilarious. He's like, I wasn't afraid. I was just trying to see where y'all at. Like, no, that was hilarious, bro. I'm so glad Michael basically redid Coming to America in a sense. And I think that's like the first image of actual black like Egyptians. I don't think that's ever really been done up to that point. So that was such a pivotal music video. Shout out to rest in peace John Singleton who directed that. But that routine is freaking hard. That's why he never did it on tour, because it was just so difficult to do. Shout out to the people that put that together.
May have been too hard for the legendary performer himself, as the King of Pop decided against including this hit on his Dangerous World Tour. After practicing the number during rehearsals and never attempted to perform the routine live. There's even a theory that MJ faked an injury ahead of the 1993 Soul Train Awards before a live performance of Remember the Time because he wasn't confident enough in the choreography. Instead, he sat in a throne for majority of the performance and used crutches throughout the awards ceremony. Number 2. Scream. Scream is a powerful duet by Michael Jackson and his sister. Released in 1995 as the lead single for his album History, the song addresses themes of frustration, media scrutiny, and the pressure of fame, featuring a hard-hitting beat and intense vocals. Its lyrics express a strong desire for liberation and a call to scream against oppression and negativity. Janet, being arguably at the top of her pop powers at this time and known more for her exceptional abilities as a performer rather than her vocals, this was the siblings' chance to go to war. The track's dance breakdown almost feels like a battle. It's dynamic and high energy, showcasing both artists' exceptional choreography as they fought to keep up with each other. The performance features sharp, synchronized movements and intricate footwork, with elements of street dance and contemporary styles. The aggressive choreography emphasizes the song's themes of anger and defiance, using powerful gestures to create a visually striking experience. This routine was insanely difficult, even for them.
Like, bro, I would have traded anything. This might be controversial. As much as I love the VMA performance Michael does in 95, I would have traded that whole entire performance from the melody of hits to doing Dangerous and all that just for him and Janet to do Scream live. Like, I would have traded anything to see that. For them to perform Scream live, oh my God. I think it would have broke the internet, and I don't know if the internet was even the internet back then. Like, it would have broke. Man, I don't know why we didn't get that. Part of me feels like Michael did what he did because of after everything that happened in 93, he kind of wanted to remind people who he was. And so it was like, okay, well, I'm going to do my melody of hits so y'all remember who I am, and then I'm going to do Dangerous. So let's see. Let's go back to This Is It. Imagine yourself as an amateur dancer and you want to audition for the tour. How many hours will you have to practice prior to that day? Would you rest? Yeah, I don't know what. I could not imagine being a dancer on This Is It or even auditioning for that, because I don't know how y'all would sleep. Because it's like you have to be perfect, damn near. Like, you have to be perfect just to audition. And the different routines you have to do, and the different, you have to memorize all this stuff. You have to be sharp. You have to make sure that you stay in sync with everyone. Like, it has to be crazy. It has to be crazy. I think Mike. I have Mike words about dancing. You must become you must become the instrument that man always had. Flow music was running in his vein. Yeah, I think that's from the Oprah interview, which I hate the first half of that interview, but when he talks about how he makes his music is you become the instrument. Also, I love his Ebony interview. I think he also talks about, his music as well.
The choreography is lightning fast, and if one person's even half a second off, the whole routine looks off. So every movement, every step had to be perfectly in sync. 1 second hitting a hard, fast move, and the next they would glide into something smoother. The family duo never performed the track live together, but Michael did incorporate the track into his History World Tour set list as the show's opener. However, he performed more improvised moves and didn't attempt the dance breakdown, which would have been near impossible in his elaborate costume.
Yeah, that would have been
Although
great.
after MJ's sudden death, his sister decided to honor his big brother by performing Scream, including their iconic dance breakdown at the 2009 Video Music Awards. reuniting one last time on stage together as she perfectly executed the near impossible routine with Michael appearing alongside her on the video wall behind.
Like, I still find it to be crazy that Janet did that and Michael was only gone for like 2 months. And she was able to get the courage to do that goddamn tribute. Even though she slipped up on the... First of all, at this point, how old was Janet by this point in 2009? She had to be at least in probably just hit her 40s, probably somewhere in there. So to do this with only 2 months, I think she only had like a week to practice and do all that live. Like, and you have to sync with the video. Like, man, Janet, man, I don't think we praised that routine, that performance enough by Janet to have the courage to do that and still perform at an elite level with that. But I'll be honest. If Michael was still alive, he had his 2009 This Is It tour. I know for a fact he will perform Scream, and Janet will make a surprise appearance and break the internet. I think that's possible for sure. I think, what was Janet doing in 2009? I think she just got off tour in 2008 in like the fall. So I don't think she was doing anything in 2009. But I could definitely see a scenario to where one time, maybe at the very end, they do Scream. If that would have happened, that'd probably be the most viral video of all time. If that would have happened. Oh man, that would have been so dope, man. Yeah, I'm like shocked that they didn't do. I'm trying to remember. I think they wanted to do something on tour, but I think it might have been a label situation to where the labels could not agree, possibly. Because I'm shocked that, especially by 95, they did not do a tour together. I think that would have been smart for both Michael and Janet to do together. That probably would have been the most record-breaking tour ever. Because by the 90s, Janet is one of the biggest artists in the world, and Michael is still one of the biggest artists in the world. So if they did a tour together, like, who's going to break that record? Damn sure ain't going to be Taylor Swift or one of them. And much I love Beyonce, who just got off tour with a Cowboy Carter tour, or I don't think it would have been her either. Like, so.
Number 1. Too Bad. Ghosts. The very last and near impossible routine to recreate is from his 1997 epic music video, Ghosts, and the dancing featured for the track, Too Bad. From Jackson's 1995 album History, the track features a catchy, upbeat rhythm with elements of hip-hop and rock. Lyrically, Too Bad addresses themes of self-empowerment and resilience when faced with adversity. The chorus emphasizing confidence and the idea of overcoming challenges. The dance routine for Too Bad is vibrant and energetic, showcasing some of Jackson's signature style. The choreography includes sharp, precise movements, intricate footwork, and dynamic group formations. The routine features a blend of street dance and theatrical elements, emphasizing the song's themes of strength and attitude. Most people can't switch between the two styles with the kind of ease that Michael did. But what really makes Too Bad impossible to replicate is the energy. Jackson and his dancers move in almost unnatural and strange ways that is befitting of its video's themes of the undead. The choreography in the Ghosts short film complemented by elaborate visuals and storytelling, further enhancing the song's message and the track's overall visual impact. Michael Jackson would often incorporate playful interactions with his dancers, highlighting his charisma and stage presence. So, what makes these routines so impossible? It's not just the choreography, but it was...
Yeah, and as I said it before, I think I've said this in my unpopular Michael Jackson video, or unpopular Michael Jackson opinions. The Ghost short film is his greatest film ever. Like, better than Thriller, Remember the Time, Smooth Criminal, Moonwalk, whatever you want to say. It's his best short film because he got to show his range as an actor, as well as the performance he did, not only with the him as himself, but also he was in a fat suit. He did a moonwalk in a fat suit Like what? And the guy he was playing was some like racist dude. I don't know who it was, but he was kind of making fun of him, right? Like there's so many layers to that goddamn short film, which was originally supposed to come out in '93 until the accusations came out. Then he had to delay it. But yeah, it's just hot damn.
Michael Jackson's ability to become the music. No matter how much you practice, you'll never be able to capture the magic he brought to every move. So, the next time someone tries to copy a Michael Jackson routine, just remember, there's a reason they call him the King of Pop.
Yeah, I think hold on. Yeah, that motion caption of the skeleton is insane with him in the hat. Like, and that's like '97. Michael, I think, was what, like 39. But that is an interesting question in regards to like what's the biggest what if when it comes to what if Michael was still alive. I guess the biggest what if in regards to Michael would be probably would he still be doing music? I feel like This Is It tour probably was This Is It. I don't think he wanted to be 55, 60 still on tour. I feel like had he gotten through the This Is It tour, he would have truly been done in terms of touring altogether. And in regards to music, I think he would have been more of a producer. We might have gotten one more album from him, and then after that, he probably would have been just doing film and directing. But I think that's the biggest what if. Like, what would he be doing? Like, what would be his next goal? Because you know, Michael, he said it in the memoirs, which I couldn't upload on here, but it's on my Patreon, that he can't stay at home. He feels like a bum when he stays home. So Michael eventually, I think he would have found a new creative outlet outside of music to do. So, But to answer the question, I think it's obvious. I have James Brown losing to Michael in terms of who is the better performer. I just think when you encapsulate everything from the attire to the singing to the routines, the multiple routines, like it's just so Michael's routines are so intricate. Like even if you do prior to let's say the Bad tour or even the Victory tour, what he was doing with his brothers was still crazy. Not to say that James Brown's choreography wasn't crazy as well. I mean, the guy was doing splits into splits into splits into like. But I just think in terms of not only dancing but singing, I just think overall Michael he just elevated what James Brown did, and that's no diss to James Brown. That showed you how great James Brown was, that he was able to elevate it to the way he did. So, and then just Michael with the pop locking, like it just the Billie Jean breakdown alone, it's like just how do you combat that? There's not a performer alive that can combat that Billie Jean performance from outside of Motown 25, from any performance Michael have done. Like, and that's funny because it was known that Michael loved Bobby Brown's "It's My Prerogative" song. So him and Bobby Brown doing a dance off in like the '80s, late '80s, would have been crazy. Speed Demon. Yeah. Instead of it being Bunny and Moonwalker, it'll be Bobby Brown. That would have been fire. That would have took Bobby Brown to another level. I still think we don't give as much as happened with Bobby Brown. I don't think we give Bobby Brown enough credit for how great he was when he went solo. Even though his run kind of was short lived. Let's see. I think the collabs he would do like Michael Jackson and BTS collab, for example, that would make history. Or Michael and The Weeknd. Michael and BTS collab would be insane. Also, a Michael and Chris Brown collab. Because in my opinion, I think the closest in terms of as a performer to Michael is Chris Brown. I think when we saw the duel between Michael and Usher at the 30th anniversary, that would be them, but by 1,000. Because as much as I respect Usher and he's great and all that, Chris Brown as a dancer and performer, it's another level. It's levels to this. You hear me? It's levels to this. But for those watching live or those that see this on playback, comment who you think is a better performer. I would love to know your opinion on that. And the great thing about that is there's no wrong answer. If you say James Brown's a better performer, I'm like, okay. Like, I can't be mad at that. You got to respect the OGs, man. Like, the problem, that's why I don't really do anything about hip hop anymore, because I really do hip hop videos on, or at least on here. It's because, well, one, I don't like current hip hop, and two, we age out our legends. Like, we age them out. By the time they get to like 35, we try to age them out. I'm like, why are we doing that? Hip hop's the only genre where we age out our stars and our legends. Like, that's stupid. Like, Rolling Stones was probably on tour today at like 80. Like, they ain't got to deal with that. Pop stars ain't got to deal with that. Only hip hop. Like, respect the OGs, man. So, yeah, if you got James Brown being better than Michael, okay, yup. I'm with you. Let's see. The thing is that MJ not just stick to just pop and lock at time. Went on, he wanted to comprehend other genres and had producers that mastered them. Imagine if he had his peak only in the 80s. Yeah. Michael always was looking to see how he could evolve. Like, it's really crazy to think of, he went from Quincy Jones to then being with Teddy Riley and finding a whole new sound, a whole new vibe that completely not only sounded like the 90s, but it also was his own sound. Like, nobody else sounded like Michael in the 90s, but yet it still sounds like the 90s. Remember the time, Black or White, Jam, all that sounds like the 90s. He had hip hop influence. Heavy D was on a track. Like, he stayed with the times, but still elevated the times. That's why he is who he is. Let's go crazy. Do, 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 do. Let's get nuts. Do, 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 do. Let's go here. Hold on. So, I did something yesterday. I kind of tried to put y'all on game that I was going live today. And I was trying to see if anybody had any questions for me, which apparently nobody had any questions, which is all good. But shout out to What About Baby Boy. He didn't have a question, but he did want to give me his rankings of Michael Jackson albums, solo albums, if we don't count Before Off the Wall, of course. And let me see. Can y'all see? I think y'all should be able to see that. Let me try something. I don't know if that's any better. Okay. Y'all should be able to see that. Hold on. Yeah, it should be good. So, What About Baby Boy? If you see this, if you somehow see this, I'm going to give you my honest thoughts on this ranking. At number 6, you have Invincible, which I actually have Invincible at number 6 too. No disrespect to Invincible, but I think it just shows how great his other albums are that Invincible would be number 6, because if there was anybody else, then it'd probably be in top 3. I think my only problem, like my only real criticism with Invincible, one is I think the first 3 tracks are a little bit too similar. Like, I feel like you really could have taken off Undestructible. was it Invincible, Unbreakable, Heartbreaker? Heartbreak. You could have took off Heartbreaker. You took off I think it's Invincible and just left Unbreakable. I think Unbreakable is a perfect intro to the album. You could have took off the other two and you could have been off to the races. But yeah, that's my only complaint is the first couple tracks after the intro. I think it was kind of unnecessary. And also, there's a few tracks near the end, like 3,000, not 3,000 watts. What is it called? Something watts. Just like, what are we doing? Which is rare for a Michael Jackson album. So, yeah, Invincible at 6 makes sense. Off the Wall at 5. That's intriguing. However, I probably could make an argument if I wanted to put Off the Wall at 5. Because it is kind of Off the Wall, I think because it's a little bit more of the old Michael in terms of still being rooted to disco and R&B, that a lot of people have Off the Wall at number 1. Or number 2 at worst. But have Off the Wall number 5. That's intriguing. It did have Thriller number 4. Oh, wow. So Thriller and Off the Wall are not even in the top 3. Off the Wall, I can make an argument for being number 5. I cannot make an argument for Thriller being as low as 4. I just can't make that argument. At worst, I can see 3. At worst, I can see 3. I can't do 4. That's an intriguing take. I would love to know more of a breakdown of why that is. Bad at 3, I can see that. A lot of people have Bad as his top 3 albums. A lot of people have it as number 1. 2, Dangerous. My girl Sasha will love that. My homie. Dangerous. I've grown to love Dangerous more. If you would ask me, I probably have Dangerous probably in the middle. So, no, I probably have Dangerous somewhere near the bottom. Only because I have so much more respect for the other albums. But I could kind of make an argument for Dangerous. Like, if I had to. But at number 2, I don't know. I don't know if I can make an argument for Dangerous at number 2. I don't know. But History at number 1, I ain't gonna lie. I could make an argument for History being number 1 because I do feel like History is his most important album in terms of him having his most personal songs as well as his most his way of retorting back to everyone in the media and everyone in society after everything went down in 93. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about what was going on with Michael on the History once he dropped History. Now, my only real criticism of History is I do think at times it's a little bit too mean. I'll say it multiple times. As much as I like the track DS, I don't like that we gave that piece of trash any light. So things like DS or things like what's another song? I do like Tabloid Junkie, but that's also it's kind of I don't know. Like you are addressing everything that's going on, but it's kind of like I just think it's just a little bit too mean. I love that Michael didn't just give us pop records. He gave us things that really was from the heart. But I felt like he did that enough with Scream. He did that enough with They Don't Care About Us. He did that enough with Earth Song. He did that enough with Money. It's a very underrated very underrated song. I just wish he wasn't just a little bit too mean or just a little bit too aggressive. I think the first half of the album could have been him addressing everything, and then the second half of the album could have just been the poppy, feel good songs. That's just my opinion. But I'm not mad at anybody that has history #1, even over Thriller or Bad or Off the Wall. I just don't, because I think that album is so important. So, but there you go. What About Baby Boy? Did my review of your ranking of Michael Jackson's album. So, with that being said, let's get into Michael's audio book, Moonwalk. Before we do that, let's get back to the chat real quick. Let's see. Regarding the Moonwalk book, or maybe it was another one, people have pointed out on Easter egg about a date written by MJ randomly in some photos. No clue why he wrote it. What was supposed to happen? Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Hold on, maybe it was another. No clue why he wrote it. Like, you have no idea why he wrote the book? Am I understanding that correctly? I think he just wanted people to know. If I make an educated guess, I just think he wanted people to get to know him more, since he probably felt really misunderstood. There was a way for him to get out, his thoughts about certain things without having to do a full interview. Yeah, that's hard to do. To this day, I can't pick my favorite song from NJ. How would I pick my favorite album? I can pick my favorite album. I can't pick my favorite song. That is so. It's literally impossible, because there's so many songs that mean so many different things. Like from Man in the Mirror to Remember the Time to Earth Song to Want to Be Starting Something. Like, there's so many different songs that mean so many different things. Scream, it's impossible. Will You Be There? Like, it's impossible. Albums, I can do that. But yeah, songs, I can't do it. If the unreleased song Changes was included in it, it would have been top notch. Definitely. Let's see. No, Mike wrote some random date. I think it was 19. Okay. Mike wrote some random date. I think it was 96 or 8. In a few pictures, the book came out a few years earlier. He was anticipating something. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know nothing about that. So he wrote something in one of the pictures saying 1996 or 1998, as that was supposed to mean something. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know what that would be. Maybe Michael Jackson, the movie, maybe. I don't know. It depends what the picture was. But I've given it roughly an hour. See me, just to chop it up real quick. But now let's get to the audiobook. Again, this is AI. Sometimes the voice might not be all the way Michael, but I think it's super cool this person took the time, because to do something like that takes so much time. So shout out to T-Bone Books that made this audio AI version with Michael Jackson's voice, because that took a lot of time. But we're only going to do the first chapter. Just Kids with a Dream. So, oh, my bad. I'm like, why am I seeing the other screen? All right. Here we go. Do do do. You see it? It touched me, 'cause I'm unbreakable. Let's go. Doop doo 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 doo. Do 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 do. Let's go. Now, I've never actually read or listened to this book, so if I have commentary or ask questions, just know this is the first time I'm hearing this. So I'm just letting you know up front. All right, let's go. Michael Jackson's Moonwalk book. I believe it was released in 1988. Giving his story of his life. Again, chapter 1, Just Kids with a Dream. Lego.
Moonwalk.
I hear that.
Chapter 1, Just Kids with a Dream. I've always wanted to be able to tell stories, stories that came from my soul. I'd like to sit by a fire and tell people stories, make them see pictures, make them cry and laugh, take them anywhere emotionally with something as deceptively simple as words. I'd like to tell tales to move their souls and transform them. I've always wanted to be able to do that. Imagine how the great writers must feel, knowing they have that power. I sometimes feel I could do it. It's something I'd like to develop. In a way, songwriting uses the same skills, creates the emotional highs and lows, but the story is a sketch. It's quicksilver. There are very few books written on the art of storytelling, how to grip listeners, how to get a group of people together and amuse them. No costumes, no makeup, no nothing, just you and your voice and your powerful ability to take them anywhere, to transform their lives, if only for minutes. As I begin to tell my story, I want to repeat what I usually say to people when they ask me about my earliest days with the Jackson 5. I was so little when we began to work on our music that I really don't remember much about it. Most people have the luxury of careers that start when they're old enough to know exactly what they're doing and why. But of course, that wasn't true of me. They remember everything that happened to them, but I was only 5 years old. When you're a show business child, you really don't have the maturity to understand a great deal of what is going on around you. People make a lot of decisions concerning your life when you're out of the room. So here's what I remember. I remember singing at the top of my voice and dancing with real joy and working too hard for a child. Of course, there are many details I don't remember at all. I do remember the Jackson 5 really taking off when I was only 8 or 9. I was born in Gary, Indiana, on a late summer night in 1958.
So I have a quick question for y'all, or anybody that watched this on playback, say it in the comments. Do you remember what is your first memory? Like, what is the very first memory you have in terms of being born? Like, I was just thinking about that the other day. I think the first memory I have goes back probably as early as 4. Because my grandmom, my mom's mom, my grandmom, I know she passed in 95 and I was only 5. And I remember my grandmother. I remember visiting her. But I remember even prior to that, being in, I guess you would call it preschool. I remember going to the preschool. I remember what it looked like. I remember, like, at least some of the kids. So I can at least remember as early as 4. But that's the best I can do. But yeah, it's kind of trippy. Like, Michael has all these videos of him being young, and he's like, I don't remember any of that because I was only 5. And the fact that you had a 5-year-old, like, really think about that. You had a 5-year-old be the leader of a musical group, and it worked, and it was one of the most successful. Like, bruh, he was destined to do this. It was ordained for him to do it, even if he was pushed into it. Even if yeah. Well, I'm not gonna go too crazy because I don't know what he's gonna say in here. So let me chill.
7th of my parents' 9 children. My father, Joe Jackson, was born in Arkansas, and in 1949 he married my mother, Catherine Screws, whose people came from Alabama. My sister, Maureen, was born the following year and had the tough job of being the oldest. Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Latoya, and Marlon were all next in line. Randy and Janet came after me. A part of my earliest memories is my father's job working in the steel mill. It was tough, mind-numbing work, and he played music for escape. At the same time, my mother was working in a department store. Because of my father, and because of my mother's own love of music, we heard it all the time at home. My father and his brother had a group called the Falcons, who were the local R&B band. My father played the guitar, as did his brother. They would do some of the great early rock and roll and blues songs by Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Otis Redding, you name it. All those styles were amazing, and each had an influence on Joe and on us, although we were too young to know it at the time. The Falcons practiced in the living room of our house in Gary, so I was raised on R&B. Since we were 9 kids and my father's brother had 8 of his own, our combined numbers made for a huge family. Music was what we did for entertainment, and those times helped keep us together and kind of encouraged my father to be a family-oriented man. The Jackson Five were
Okay.
born out of this tradition. We later became the Jacksons, and because of this training and musical tradition, I moved out on my own and established a sound that is mine. I remember my childhood as mostly work, even though I loved to sing. I wasn't forced into this business by stage parents the way Judy Garland was. I did it because I enjoyed it and because it was as natural to me as drawing a breath and exhaling it. I did it because I was compelled to do it, not my parents or family, but by my own inner life in the world of music. There were times, let me make that clear, when I'd come home from school and I'd only have time to put my books down and get ready for the studio. Once there, I'd sing until late at night, until it was past my bedtime, really. There was a park across the street from the Mottown studio, and I can remember looking at those kids playing games. I'd just stare at them and wonder. I couldn't imagine such freedom, such a carefree life, and wish more than anything that I had that kind of freedom, that I could walk away and be like them. So there were sad moments in my childhood. It's true for any child star. Elizabeth Taylor told me she felt the same way. When you're young and you're working, the world can seem awfully unfair. I wasn't forced to be Little Michael, the lead singer. I did it and I loved it, but it was hard work. If we were doing an album, for example, we'd go off to the studio after school and I might or might not get a snack. Sometimes there just wasn't time. I'd come home exhausted and it'd be 11 or 12 and past time to go to bed. So I very much identify with anyone who worked as a child. I know how they struggled. I know what they sacrificed. I also know what they learned. I've learned that it becomes more of a challenge as one gets older.
So I think this is an interesting what if. Shout out to Cat Sarah that just entered the chat. Um, yeah, it's an AI reading of AI Mike reading his own book. Yeah, and never listened to this, so this is be intriguing for me. But it's an intriguing what if in terms of I think people justify child stars working as hard as they do and saying, well, they would have never been as successful if they weren't pushed the way they were. And I beg to differ. I think people like Michael could have played at the playground, still performed, or still rehearsed or still recorded at a high level. You have to give a child an ability to be a child. You just have to. I don't think they would have lost any hits. I don't think they would have been less successful had Michael or and his brothers had not performed as much or rehearsed as much. I just don't believe that. I just don't believe that. I just don't believe it. I think you can still put in the work. You can still, rehearse and all that, and you can still have a balance because who is to say that if they weren't given the ability to have more of an outlet to not work, that maybe they could have even performed better? Who is to say? Because you do need, nobody can work all the time, especially as a child. Like, I just don't, I just think, I understand Michael not wanting to be like, I loved it, da 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 da, but hey, it needed to be done or whatever. Like, I understand Michael's justification of it, but I still think he would have been as successful if he was given time to be a child. I truly do. I don't think he would have had to sacrifice anything. I don't think success would have been sacrificed at all. Like, he still could have sung tweety tweety, like, it still would have been fine. So, but I wonder, like, my question is, do you think had he was given, what would have happened to Michael Jackson if he was given a true childhood? Would he have been as successful? What would his outlook on life be if he was given a proper childhood? Because I think a lot of reason why Michael loved kids the way he did, but because he knows the pain of not getting proper, I don't know what's the word, just be given the opportunity to truly have a childhood the way most children do if they're raised properly. Like, I think that's probably the biggest what if of Michael is, what if he was actually given a childhood? How different would he have been? His music would have been, his outlook on life would have been. How different would it have been? So,
I feel old for some reason. I really feel like an old soul, someone who's seen a lot and experienced a lot. Because of all the years I've clocked in, it's hard for me to accept that I am only 29. I've been in the business for 24 years. Sometimes I feel like I should be near the end of my life, turning 80, with people patting me on the back. That's what comes from starting so young.
wow.
When I first performed with my brothers, we were known as the Jacksons. We would later become the Jackson Five. Still later, after we left Motown, we would reclaim the Jacksons' name again. Every one of my albums, or the group's albums, has been dedicated to our mother, Katherine Jackson, since we took over our own careers and began to produce our own music. My first memories are of her holding me and singing songs like You Are My Sunshine and Cotton Fields. She sang to me and to my brothers and sisters often. Even though she had lived in Indiana for some time, my mother grew up in Alabama, and in that part of the country it was just as common for black people to be raised with country and Western music on the radio as it was for them to hear spirituals in church. She likes Willie Nelson to this day. She has always had a beautiful voice, and I suppose I got my singing ability from my mother and, of course, from God. Mom played the clarinet and the
So
piano.
not your father? Like, your father was in a group. Wow. Yeah, I got my singing ability from my mother in God. Like, Joe Jackson was like, okay. I don't know if that was shade or not, but I'm gonna take it as shade. I want to take it as shade. I'm gonna take it as shade.
Which she taught my oldest sister Maureen, whom we call Rebby, to play, just as she'd teach my other older sister Latoya. My mother knew from an early age that she would never perform the music she loved in front of others, not because she didn't have the talent and the ability, but because she was crippled by polio as a child. She got over the disease, but not without a permanent limp in her walk. She had to miss a great deal of school as a child, but she told us that she was lucky to recover at a time when many died from the disease. I remember how important it was to her that we got the sugar cube vaccine. She even made us miss a youth club show one Saturday afternoon. That's how important it was in our family. My mother knew her polio was not a curse, but a test that God gave her to triumph over, and she instilled in me a love of him that I will always have. She taught me that my talent for singing and dancing was as much God's work as a beautiful sunset or a storm that left snow for children to play in. Despite all the time we spent rehearsing and traveling, Mom would find time to take me to the Kingdom Hall of the Jehovah's Witnesses, usually with Rebby and Latoya. Years later, after we had left Gary, we performed on the Ed Sullivan Show, the live Sunday night variety show where America first saw the Beatles, Elvis and Sly, and the Family Stone. After the show, Mr. Sullivan complimented and thanked each of us, but I was thinking about what he had said to me before the show. I had been wandering around backstage like the kid in the Pepsi commercial and ran into Mr. Sullivan. He seemed glad to see me and shook my hand, but before he let it go, he had a special message for me. It was 1970, a year when some of the best people in rock were losing their lives to drugs and alcohol. An older, wiser generation in show business was unprepared to lose its very young. Some people had already said that I reminded them of Frankie Lyman, a great young singer of the 1950s who lost his life that way. Ed Sullivan may have been thinking of all this when he told me, "Never forget where your talent came from, that your talent is a gift from God." I was grateful for his kindness, but I could have told him that my mother had never let me forget. I never had polio, which is a frightening thing for a dancer to think about, but I knew God had tested me and my brothers and sisters in other ways. Our large family, our tiny house, the small amount of money we had to make ends meet, even the jealous kids in the neighborhood who threw rocks at our windows while we rehearsed, yelling that we'd never make it. When I think of my mother in our early years, I can tell you there are rewards that go far beyond money and public acclaim and awards. My mother was a great provider. If she found out that one of us had an interest in something, she would encourage it if there was any possible way. If I developed an interest in movie stars, for instance, she'd come home with an armful of books about famous stars. Even with 9 children, she treated each of us like an only child.
Wow.
There isn't one of us who's ever forgotten what a hard worker and great provider she was. It's an old story. Every child thinks their mother is the greatest mother in the world, but we Jacksons never lost that feeling.
Yes. Shout out to my mama Hayes. She is the best mother in the world. Just want to put that out there. All right.
Because of Catherine's gentleness, warmth, and attention, I can't imagine what it must be like to grow up without a mother's love.
Yeah.
One thing I know about children is that if they don't get the love they need from their parents, they'll get it from someone else and cling to that person,
Talk.
a grandparent, anyone.
Talk.
We never had to look for anyone else with my mother around. The lessons she taught us were invaluable. Kindness, love, and consideration for other people headed her list. Don't hurt people. Never beg, never freeload. Those were sins at our house. She always wanted us to give, but she never wanted us to ask or beg. That's the way she is. I remember a good story about my mother that illustrates her nature. One day, back in Gary when I was real little, this man knocked on everybody's door early in the morning. He was bleeding so badly you could see where he'd been around the neighborhood. No one would let him in. Finally, he got to our door and he started banging and knocking. Mother let him in at once. Now, most people would have been too afraid to do that, but that's my mother. I can remember waking up and finding blood on our floor. I wish we could all be more like Mum. The earliest memories I have of my father are of him coming home from the steel mill with a big bag of glazed donuts for all of us.
That's funny. That voice change is hilarious. That sounds like old Michael. That sounds like post-history Michael. That's hilarious. I'm sorry. That threw me off guard for a little bit. But yeah, actually, I heard this story about the guy knocking on the door and his mom letting him in. Again, it's on the Michael Jackson Memoir Lost Tapes. I can only put it on Patreon because they will not allow me to put it on YouTube. So go check that video out on Patreon. But yeah. And Catherine, by the way, Catherine is still going today. I think she just turned like 90. It's like, what? Like I think she's like 90, no, I think she's even older than that. Yeah, I think she just turned 90 something. Like, Catherine is still kicking, bro. Like, that's crazy.
He was bleeding so badly you could see where he'd been around the neighborhood. No one would let him in. Finally, he got to our door and he started banging and knocking. Mother let him in at once. Now, most people would have been too afraid to do that, but that's my mother. I can remember waking up and finding blood on our floor. I wish we could all be more like Mum. The earliest memories I have of my father are of him coming home from the steel mill with a big bag of glazed donuts for all of us. My brothers and I could really eat back then, and that bag would disappear with a snap of the fingers. He used to take us all to the merry-go-round in the park, but I was so young I don't remember that very well. My father has always been something of a mystery to me, and he knows it. One of the few things I regret most is never being able to have a real closeness with him. He built a shell around himself over the years, and once he stopped talking about our family business, he found it hard to relate to us. We'd all be together, and he'd just leave the room. Even today, it's hard for him to touch on father and son stuff because he's too embarrassed. When I see that he is, I become embarrassed too. My father did always protect us, and that's no small feat. He always tried to make sure people didn't cheat us. He looked after our interests in the best ways. He might have made a few mistakes along the way, but he always thought he was doing what was right for his family. And of course, most of what my father helped us accomplish was wonderful and unique, especially in regard to our relationships with companies and people in the business. I'd say we were among a fortunate few artists who walked away from a childhood in the business with anything substantial money, real estate, other investments. My father set all these up for us. He looked out for both our interests and his. To this day, I'm so thankful he didn't try to take all our money for himself, the way so many parents of child stars have. Imagine stealing from your own children. My father never did anything like that. But I still don't know him, and that's sad for a son who hungers to understand his own father. He's still a mystery man to me, and he may always be one. What I got from
Wow. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Yeah, but that also is true that you have a lot of stories. Macaulay Culkin, um, he's just the first person that comes to mind. There are like a lot of them to where the parents steal from the children. Gary Coleman, infamously. Oh my God, man. Yeah, Gary Coleman. Like, I don't know how you could. I don't know how you could be a human being living and treat your child that way, to rob your own child. And the fact that Michael's like, well, he didn't steal from us, but I still don't know him. Like, damn. That's crazy. Like, that's deep. Like, I think also that shapes who Michael became. Like, the thing with, I'm not trying to get super. I think the reason why Michael sought validation a lot from children and from others is because he never truly got that validation from his father. He got it from his mother, but never got it from his father. And because he never got it from his father, that's why he looks so much to kids and to get validation from others, because he never got to truly know and feel love from his father. That's just me, though. I ain't trying to play, you know, Dr. Phil. Nothing. Well, I don't think Dr. Phil is even a real. But anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. So.
my father wasn't necessarily God-given, though the Bible says you reap what you sow.
Talk about it.
When we were coming along, Dad said that in a different way, but the message was just as clear. You could have all the talent in the world, but if you didn't prepare and plan, it wouldn't do you any good. Joe Jackson had always loved singing and music as much as my mother did, but he also knew there was a world beyond Jackson Street. I wasn't old enough to remember his band, the Falcons, but they came over to our house to rehearse on weekends. The music took them away from their jobs at the steel mill where Dad drove a crane. The Falcons would play all over town and in clubs and colleges around northern Indiana and Chicago. At the rehearsals at our house, Dad would bring his guitar out of the closet and plug it into the amp he kept in the basement. He'd always loved rhythm and blues, and that guitar was his pride and joy. The closet where the guitar was kept was considered an almost sacred place. Needless to say, it was off limits to us kids. Dad didn't go to Kingdom Hall with us, but both Mom and Dad knew that music was a way of keeping our family together in a neighborhood where gangs recruited kids my brother's ages. The three oldest boys would always have an excuse to around when the Falcons came over. Dad let them think they were being given a special treat by being allowed to listen, but he was actually eager to have them there. Tito watched everything that was going on with the greatest...
I will say this about Joe Jackson. I usually don't give him a lot of praise, but the fact that he was able to keep his kids from gangs, which is very hard to do, especially when you're in a certain environment, the fact that he was able to keep them away or protect them, and you listen to all the kids in that family, they're like, no, we ain't want nothing to do with that. Like, it does show that they did it. Him and Catherine did a great job of instilling certain discipline and morals into them, and now allowing them to be followers. A lot of people join certain things not only because they're looking for, validation from something else, but they want to be a follower and they want to, do certain things. So I do gotta commend Joe Jackson again. That might be the last compliment he gets today, but I do gotta commend him for that as well.
Interest. He'd taken saxophone in school, but he could tell his hands were big enough to grab the chords and slip the riffs that my father played. It made sense that he'd catch on, because Tito looked so much like my father that we all expected him to share Dad's talents. The extent of the resemblance was scary as he got older. Maybe my father noticed Tito's zeal because he laid down rules for all my brothers. No one was to touch the guitar while he was out. Period. Therefore, Jackie, Tito, and Jermaine were careful to see that Mom was in the kitchen when they borrowed the guitar. They were also careful not to make any noise while removing it. They would then go back to our room and put on the radio or the little portable record player so they could play along. Tito would hoist the guitar onto his belly as he sat on the bed and prop it up. He took turns with Jackie and Jermaine, and they'd all try the scales they were learning in school, as well as try to figure out how to get the green onions part they'd hear on the radio. By now, I was old enough to sneak in and watch if I promised not to tell. One day, Mom finally caught them, and we were all worried. She scolded the boys, but said she wouldn't tell Dad as long as we were careful. She knew that guitar was keeping them from running with a bad crowd and maybe getting beat up, so she wasn't about to take away anything that kept them within arm's reach. Of course, something had to give sooner or later, and one day a string broke. My brothers panicked. There wasn't time to get it repaired before Dad came home, and besides, none of us knew how to go about getting it fixed. My brothers never figured out what to do, so they put the guitar back in the closet and hoped fervently that my father would think it broke by itself. Of course, Dad didn't buy that, and he was furious. My sisters told me to stay out of it and keep a low profile. I heard Tito crying after Dad found out, and I went to investigate, of course. Tito was on his bed crying when Dad came back and motioned for him to get up. Tito was scared, but my father just stood there, holding his favorite guitar. He gave Tito a hard, penetrating look and said, "Let me see what you can do." My brother pulled himself together and started to play a few runs he had, taught himself. When my father saw how well Tito could play, he knew he'd obviously been practicing, and he realized that Tito and the rest of us didn't treat his favorite guitar as if it were a toy. It became clear to him that what had happened had been only an accident. At this point, my mother stepped in and voiced her enthusiasm for our musical ability. She told him that we boys had talent and he should listen to us. She kept pushing for us. So one day he began to listen, and he liked what he heard. Tito, Jackie, and Jermaine started rehearsing together in earnest.
So I guess you just skipped over the part where Tito got beat. Okay, we're not gonna talk about that. All right, this is still like '80s, so I don't think Michael. I think Latoya is the one that revealed that they used to get beat. Okay, cool. All right, I was just wondering if he was going to put that in there. But while he was talking, I was trying to think of. I've only gotten 2 beatings from my father, only 2. One, I got eventually tell this story. It's too much. One is when I stole money from his wallet, and 2 is when I almost burnt the house down. I think I said this in the previous video. I eventually got to tell that story. I can't do it right now. It still got PTSD. But yeah, I only got 2 beatings from my father, because my father was not really the disciplinarian in my. Well, there's only me, my mom, and my dad. My father wasn't really the disciplinarian. He was usually the one. When my mom would say, "Wait till your father get home," it would be more of a giving me a speech. It wasn't a "wait till your father get home so he could beat you," because my mom already did that. So my mom was usually the one to be the disciplinarian until she got older and found Jesus, thank God, and she stopped beating me. But yeah, my father wasn't really the disciplinarian. He was more of the giving me a speech about what you're supposed to do and how you need to be the man of the house when I'm gone, and you gotta take care of yourself. Remember that you're still a black man. Da, 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 da. So thank God for my dad, because I still feel those 2 beatings like it was yesterday, and I was like 9 and probably like 10. So yeah, thank God that he only beat me like twice, at least for what I remember. But yeah, so just to let you know, it's not just a Joe Jackson thing. Like, some households, That's how you're raised. I don't know if once I ever have children, if I could ever beat my kids. I just don't know if I can do it. Like maybe it's a slap on the hand or something like that. But I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I'm gangster enough to do that. Like I might shake them a little bit, but I don't know if I'm gangster enough to like actually beat them. Like I think there are other ways to instill in a child, like when they have done wrong. I think today, especially in today's time, if you take away like a device from them or turn off Wi-Fi, they'll get right. But we'll see. Hopefully one day I'll have some kids and we'll have to test out the theory of not beating your kids. We'll see.
A couple of years later, when I was about 5, Mom pointed out to my father that I was a good singer and could play the bongos. I became a member of the group. About then, my father decided that what was happening in his family was serious. Gradually, he began spending less time with the Falcons and more with us. We'd just woodshed together, and he'd give us some tips and teach us techniques on the guitar. Marlon and I weren't old enough to play, but we'd watch when my father rehearsed the older boys, and we were learning when we watched. The ban on using Dad's guitar still held when he wasn't around, but my brothers loved using it when they could. The house on Jackson Street was bursting with music. Dad and Mom had paid for music lessons for Rebby and Jackie when they were little kids, so they had a good background. The rest of us had music class and band in the Gary schools, but no amount of practice was enough to harness all that energy. The Falcons were still earning money, however infrequent their gigs, and that extra money was important to us. It was enough to keep food on the table for a growing family, but not enough to give us things that weren't necessary. Mom was working part-time at Sears. Dad was still working the mill job, and no one was going hungry. But I think looking
shout
back,
out to Sears. Sears used to get me right before school started, bro. Shout out to Sears, bro. Sears in Value City. What you talking about?
that things must have seemed one big dead end. One day, Dad was late coming home, and Mom began to get worried. By the time he arrived, she was ready to give him a piece of her mind, something we boys didn't mind witnessing once in a while just to see if he could take it like he dished it out. But when he poked his head through the door, he had a mischievous look on his face, and he was hiding something behind his back. We were all shocked when he produced a gleaming red guitar, slightly smaller than the one in the closet. We were all hoping this meant we'd get the old one. But Dad said the new guitar was Tito's. We gathered around to admire it, while Dad told Tito he had to share it with anyone who would practice. We were not to take it to school to show it off. This was a serious present, and that day was a momentous occasion for the Jackson family. Mom was happy for us, but she also knew her husband. She was more aware than we of the big ambitions and plans he had for us. He'd begun talking to her at night after we kids were asleep. He had dreams, and those dreams didn't stop with one guitar. Pretty soon we were dealing with equipment, not just gifts. Jermaine got a bass and an amp. There were shakers for Jackie. Our bedroom and living room began to look like a music store. Sometimes I'd hear Mom and Dad fight when the subject of money was brought up, because all those instruments and accessories meant having to go without a little something we needed each week. Dad was persuasive, though, and he didn't miss a trick. We even had microphones in the house. They seemed like a real luxury at the time, especially to a woman who was trying to stretch a very small budget. But I've come to realize that having those microphones in our house wasn't just an attempt to keep up with the Joneses or anyone else in amateur night competitions. They were there to help us prepare. I saw people
seriously though, how did Joe Jackson come up with all that money? He had how many kids? He had at least 7, 8, 9 kids. How did he do that, bro? Seriously, how did he do that? I don't think it was ever truly talked about. How was you able to do that, bro? I'm not trying to snitch on that. I don't know what he was doing. But, I know he was working at the steel mill and all that. But, bro, how was he able to afford to feed the kids, still have money for equipment, all that? I don't know. I was just putting the question out there. I don't expect y'all to say anything. But I'm just saying. That's kind of crazy. I don't know how he was able to do that, bro. Unless he was paying bookies or something, like gambling or something. Like, I don't know how he did that, dog.
Talent shows who probably sounded great at home clam up the moment they got in front of a microphone. Others started screaming their songs like they wanted to prove they didn't need the mics. They didn't have the advantage that we did, an advantage that only experience can give you. I think it probably made some people jealous because they could tell our expertise with the mics gave us an edge. If that was true, we made so many sacrifices in free time, schoolwork, and friends that no one had the right to be jealous. We were becoming very good, but we were working like people twice our age. While I was watching my older brothers, including Marlon on the bongo drums, Dad got a couple of young guys named Johnny Jackson and Randy Rancifer to play trap drums and organ. Motown would later claim they were our cousins, but that was just an embellishment from the PR people who wanted to make us...
Did he say trap drums? No, run that back. Hold on. Wait, what? Hold on. You said trap drums?
Guys named Johnny Jackson and Randy Rancifer to play trap drums and organ. Motown would later claim they were our cousins, but that was just an embellishment from the PR people.
Let me find out there was trap drums in like 68. Yeah, what would trap even sound like in 68? That would be if somebody's out there, if somebody hears this, somebody recreate, I think it probably already is, recreate what trap would sound like in 68 or 67 or like in the 60s. I'll be intrigued to hear that. Because there's no such thing as anything new. Everything we're doing now has already been done. It just hasn't seen a light of day. Like, as soon as we think, oh, that's something new, it's not really new. It's already been done. So I wouldn't be shocked if there was trap in the 60s.
Who wanted to make us seem like one big family. We had become a real band. I was like a sponge watching everyone and trying to learn everything I could. I was totally absorbed when my brothers were rehearsing or playing at charity events or shopping centers. I was most fascinated when watching Jermaine because he was the singer at the time and he was a big brother to me. Marlon was too close to me in age for that. It was Jermaine who would walk me to kindergarten and whose clothes would be handed down to me. When he did something, I tried to imitate him. When I was successful at it, my brothers and Dad would laugh, but when I began singing, they listened. I was singing in a baby voice then and just imitating sounds. I was so young I didn't know what many of the words meant, but the more I sang, the better I got. I always knew how to dance. I would watch Marlon's moves because Jermaine had the big bass to carry, but also because I could keep up with Marlon, who was only a year older than me. Soon I was doing most of the singing at home and preparing to join my brothers in public. Through our rehearsals, we were all becoming aware of our particular strengths and weaknesses as members of the group, and the shift in responsibilities was happening naturally. Our family's house in Gary was tiny, only 3 rooms really, but at the time it seemed much larger to me. When you're that young, the whole world seems so huge that a little room can seem 4 times its size. When we went back to Gary years later, we were all surprised at how tiny that house was. I had remembered it as being large, but you could take 5 steps from the front door and you'd be out the back. It was really no bigger than a garage, but when we lived there, it seemed fine to us kids. You see things from such a different perspective when you're young. Our school days in Gary are a blur for me. I vaguely remember being dropped off in front of my school on the first day of kindergarten, and I clearly remember having it. I didn't want my mother to leave me, naturally, and I didn't want to be there. In time, I adjusted, as all kids do, and I grew to love...
Be there in the morning. Okay, my bad. Go ahead.
Love my teachers, especially the women. They were always very sweet to us, and they just loved me. Those teachers were so wonderful. I'd be promoted from one grade to the next, and they'd all cry and hug me and tell me how much they hated to see me leave their classes. I was so crazy about my teachers that I'd steal my mother's jewelry and give it to them as presents. They'd be very touched, but eventually my mother found out about it and put an end to my generosity with her things. That urge that I had to give them something in return for all I was receiving was a measure of how much I loved them at that school. One day, in the first grade, I participated in a program that was put on before the whole school. Every one of us in each class had to do something, so I went home and discussed it with my parents. We decided I should wear black pants and a white shirt and sing Climb Every Mountain from The Sound of Music. When I finished that song, the reaction in the auditorium overwhelmed me. The applause was thunderous and people were smiling. Some of them were standing. My teachers were crying and I just couldn't believe it. I had made them all happy. It was such a great feeling. I felt a little confused too because I didn't do anything special. I was just singing the way I sang at home every night. When you're performing, you don't realize what you sound like or how you're coming across. You just open your mouth and sing. Soon Dad was grooming us for talent contests. He was a great trainer and he spent a lot of money and time working with us. Talent is something that God gives to a performer, but our father taught us how to cultivate it. I think we also had a certain instinct for show business. We loved to perform and we put everything we had into it. He'd sit at home with us every day after school and rehearse us. We'd perform for him and he'd critique us. If you messed up, you got hit, sometimes with a belt, sometimes with a switch. My father was real strict with us, real strict. Marlon was the one who got in trouble all the time. On the other hand, I'd get beaten for things that happened mostly outside rehearsal. Dad would make me so mad and hurt that I'd try to get back at him and get beaten all the more. I'd take a shoe and throw it at him, or I'd just fight back, swinging my fists. That's why I got it more than all my brothers combined. I would fight back and my father would kill me, just tear me up. Mother told me I'd fight back even when I was very little, but I don't remember that.
I'm trying to remember, have I ever fought back? I don't think I've, oh, wow. There is one. You know what? I lied. There's one time I fought back and I pushed my mom into a wall. And when I tell you my dad, that's why I can remember, because my dad hit me with when I tell you my dad hit me with a karate chop, like he hit me with a karate chop on the top of my head and I damn near blocked out. So I lied. There's only 3 times that my dad ever hit me. And that was one because I disrespected my mom. But my mom was on my, like, I forget what I did. I probably did something stupid. But my mom was on my body. I was like, yo, okay, you need to get off me now. Like, you need to chill. So, yeah. Hot damn. Whew, I forgot about that. That's crazy. Yeah, I never did that again. I never did that again.
I do remember running under tables to get away from him and making him angrier. We had a turbulent relationship. Most of the time, however, we just rehearsed. We always rehearsed. Sometimes late at night we'd have time to play games or with our toys. There might be a game of hide and go seek or we'd jump rope, but that was about it. The majority of our time was spent working. I clearly remember running into the house with my brothers when my father came home because we'd be in big trouble if we weren't ready to start rehearsals on time. Through all this, my mother was completely supportive. She had been the one who first recognized our talent, and she continued to help us realize our potential. It's hard to imagine that we would have gotten where we did without her love and good humor. She worried about the stress we were under and the long hours of rehearsal, but we wanted to be the best we could be, and we really loved music. Music was important in Gary. We had our own radio stations and nightclubs, and there was no shortage of people who wanted to be on them. After Dad ran our Saturday afternoon rehearsals, he'd go see a local show or even drive all the way to Chicago to see someone perform. He was always watching for things that could help us down the road. He'd come home and tell us what he'd seen and who was doing what. He kept up on all the latest stuff, whether it was a local theater that ran contests we could enter or a Cavalcade of Stars show with great acts whose clothes or moves we might adapt. Sometimes I wouldn't see Dad until I got back from Kingdom Hall on Sundays. But as soon as I ran into the house, he'd be telling me what he'd seen the night before. He'd assure me I could dance on one leg like James Brown if I'd only try this step. There I'd be, fresh out of church and back in show business. We started collecting trophies with our act when I was 6. Our lineup was set. The group featured me at second from the left and Jackie on my right. Tito and his guitar took stage right with Marlon next to him. Jackie was getting tall and he towered over Marlon and me. We kept that setup for contest after contest, and it worked well. While other groups we'd meet would fight among themselves and quit, we were becoming more polished and experienced.
I do
People
love that lineup. Like, it's a perfect lineup of Tito and Jermaine on the end with the guitars, the little ones, Michael and Marlon in the middle, and Jackie in the middle of all of them. Like, the lineup of that is so perfect. Like, that was so great that they did that. Like, it's iconic. Like, when you don't see it, when Jermaine leaves, and I'm trying to remember what's the lineup when Jermaine leaves. I think they put Tito. What did they do with the lineup when Jermaine leaves? I don't remember. I think they keep it the same, but Tito is now Jermaine. I think Randy's on the other side. But anyway, it looks so weird when Jermaine is gone.
and Gary, who came regularly to see the talent shows, got to know us, so we would try to top ourselves and surprise them. We didn't want them to begin to feel bored by our act. We knew change was always good, that it helped us grow, so we were never afraid of it. Winning an amateur night or talent show in a 10-minute, two-song set took as much energy as a 90-minute concert. I'm convinced that because there's no room for mistakes, your concentration burns you up inside more on one or two songs than it does when you have the luxury of 12 or 15 in a set. These talent shows were our professional education. Sometimes we'd drive hundreds of miles to do one song or two and hope the crowd wouldn't be against us because we weren't local talent. We were competing against people of all ages and skills, from drill teams to comedians to other singers and dancers like us. We had to grab that audience and keep it. Nothing was left to chance. So clothes, shoes, hair, everything had to be the way Dad planned it. We really looked amazingly professional. After all this planning, if we performed the songs the way we rehearsed them, the awards would take care of themselves. This was true even when we were in the Wallace High part of town, where the neighborhood had its own performers and cheering sections, and we were challenging them right in their own backyards. Naturally, local performers always had their own very loyal fans, so whenever we went off our turf and onto someone else's, it was very hard. When the master of ceremonies held his hand over our heads for the applause meter, we wanted to make sure that the crowd knew we had given them more than anyone else. As players, Jermaine, Tito, and the rest of us were under tremendous pressure. Our manger was the kind who reminded us that James Brown would fine his famous flames if they missed a cue or bent a note during a performance. As lead singer, I felt I, more than the others, couldn't afford an off night. I can remember being on stage at night after being sick in bed all day. It was hard to concentrate at those times, yet I knew all the things my brothers and I had to do so well that I could have performed the routines in my sleep. At times like that, I had to remind myself not to look in the crowd for someone I knew, or at the MC, both of which can distract a young performer. We did songs that people knew from the radio, or songs that my father knew were already classics. If you messed up, you heard about it because the fans knew those songs and they knew how they were supposed to sound. If you
Tell me why I thought Michael was going to. Tell me why I thought Michael was going to say, after he said James Brown started finding his band members, that Michael, like, well, in honor of James, if when my brothers did not stay in line, I started finding them for not being on point. Oh, like, don't ask me why I thought Michael was going to say that. Like, there's no way he was going to do that. But in my brain, Michael wanted to do that. Like, come on, Marlon, get the turn right. Come on, that's $5. That's 5 candy bars. Yo, all the while, there's something wrong with me. Don't mind me, yo.
going to change an arrangement, it needed to sound better than the original. We won the citywide talent show when I was 8 with our version of the Temptations' song, My Girl. The contest was held just a few blocks away at Roosevelt High. From Jermaine's opening bass notes and Tito's first guitar licks to all of us singing the chorus, we had people on their feet for the whole song. Jermaine and I traded verses while Marlon and Jackie spun like tops. It was a wonderful feeling for all of us to pass that trophy, our biggest yet, back and forth between us. Eventually, it was propped on the front seat like a baby, and we drove home with Dad telling us, when you do it like you did tonight, they can't not give it to you. We were now Gary City champions, and Chicago was our next target because it was the area that offered the steadiest work and the best word of mouth for miles and miles. We began to plan our strategy in earnest. My father's group played the Chicago sound of Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, but he was open-minded enough to see that the more upbeat, slicker sounds that appealed to us kids had a lot to offer. We were lucky because some people his age weren't that hip. In fact, we knew musicians who thought the 60s sound was beneath people their age, but not Dad. He recognized great singing when he heard it, even telling us that he saw the great doo-wop group from Gary, the Spaniels, when they were stars not that much older than we. When Smokey Robinson of the Miracles sang a song like Tracks of My Tears or Ooh, Baby, Baby, he'd be listening as hard as we were. The 60s didn't leave Chicago behind musically. Great singers like the Impressions with Curtis Mayfield, Jerry Butler, Major Lance, and Tyrone Davis were playing all over the city at the same places we were. At this point, my father was managing us full-time, with only a part-time shift at the mill. Mom had some doubts about the soundness of this decision, not because she didn't think we were good, but because she didn't know anyone else who was spending the majority of his time trying to break his children into the music business. She was even less thrilled when Dad told her he had booked us as a regular act at Mr. Lucky's, a Gary night spot. We were being forced to spend our weekends in Chicago and other places trying to win an ever-increasing number of amateur shows, and these trips were expensive. So the job at Mr. Lucky's was a way to make it all possible. Mom was surprised at the response we were getting, and she was very pleased with the awards and the attention, but she worried about us a lot. She worried about me because of my age. This is quite a life for a 9-year-old, she would say, staring intently at my father. I don't know what my brothers and I expected, but the nightclub crowds weren't the same as the Roosevelt High crowds. We were playing between bad comedians, cocktail organists, and strippers. With my witness upbringing, Mom was concerned that I was hanging out with the wrong people and getting introduced to things I'd be better off learning much later in life. She didn't have to worry. Just one look at some of those strippers wasn't going to get me that interested in trouble, certainly not at 9 years old. That was an awful way to live, though, and it made us all the more determined to move on up the circuit and as far away from that life as we could go. Being at Mr. Lucky's meant that for the first time in our lives we had a whole show to do, 5 sets a night, 6 nights a week. And if Dad could get us something out of town for the 7th night, he was going to do it. We were working hard, but the bar crowds weren't bad to us. They liked James Brown and Sam and Dave just as much as we did, and besides, we were something extra that came free with the drinking and the carrying on. So they were surprised and cheerful. We even had some fun with them on one number, the Joe Tex song, Skinny Legs and All. We'd start the song, and somewhere in the middle, I'd go out into the audience, crawl under the tables, and pull up the ladies' skirts to look under. People would throw money as
I'm sorry. Oh, wait, what? Hold on. I'm sorry. I beg your pardon, Michael? You did what now? I'm sorry, you got to run that back. You got to run that back for me. You did what now?
So they were surprised and cheerful. We even had some fun with them on one number, the Joe Tex song, Skinny Legs and All. We'd start the song, and somewhere in the middle, I'd go out into the audience, crawl under the tables, and pull up the ladies' skirts to look under.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said. You did what? Michael, you bugging, but you talking about, oh, I didn't want to see no strippers, though. All right, Michael. Okay. All right. All right, Michael. You got it. I ain't going to, you can have that. That's not even what I'm mad at. You got it. You got it, big dog.
Scurried by, and when I began to dance, I'd scoop up all the dollars and coins that had hit the floor earlier and push them into the pockets of my jacket. I wasn't really nervous when we began playing in because of all the experience I'd had with talent show audiences. I was always ready to go out and perform, just do it, sing and dance and have some fun. We worked in more than one club that had strippers in those days. I used to stand in the wings of this one place in Chicago and watch a lady whose name was Mary Rose. I must have been 9 or 10. This girl would take off her clothes and her panties and throw them to the audience. The men would pick them up and sniff them and yell. My brothers and I would be watching all this, taking it in, and my father wouldn't mind. We were exposed to a lot doing that kind of circuit.
Yeah.
In one place, they had cut a little hole in the musician's dressing room wall that also happened to act as a wall in the ladies' bathroom. You could peek through this hole, and I saw stuff I've never forgotten. Guys on that circuit were so wild. They did stuff like drilling little holes into the walls of the ladies' loo all the time. Of course, I'm sure that my brothers and I were fighting over who got to look through the hole. Get out of the way, it's my turn.
Again, Michael. Man, they love the strippers. I love the strippers. Yo, that's crazy. That's wild. Y'all are yo, the industry, yo, that's yo. Yo, they was wilding. They were bugging. They was bugging. They was bugging. I'll try. I ain't gonna hold you. The ages is giving the ages he's giving at specific times are a little off. Possibly, it's possible. It's possible. But I tried to get into strip clubs. Couldn't do it. Like I just like. So let me get this straight. You want me to give you money? Oh, you want me to give my money to you? So do you can tease me all night? That's what I'm understanding. I just never understood it. Now there have been some very entertaining strippers I've seen throughout my day, but I never got it. Like I'm not, I just never got it. But I don't judge people that do. People that love strip clubs, shout out to y'all, man. Good on y'all. But I never got to see. But poking holes through walls, bro. Y'all wildin', bro.
Pushing each other away to make room for ourselves. Later, when we did the Apollo Theater in New York, I saw something that really blew me away because I didn't know things like that existed. I had seen quite a few strippers, but that night, this one girl with gorgeous eyelashes and long hair came out and did her routine. She put on a great performance. All of a sudden, at the end, she took off her wig, pulled a pair of big oranges out of her bra, and revealed that she was a hard-faced guy under all that makeup. That blew me away.
Right.
I was only a child and couldn't even conceive of anything like that. But I looked out at the theater audience and they were going for it, applauding wildly.
Them waitresses at the strip clubs, though? Son. Okay. Yeah.
Cheering. I'm just a little kid, standing in the wings, watching this crazy stuff. I was blown away. As I said, I received quite an education as a child. More than most. Perhaps this freed me to concentrate on other aspects of my life as an adult. One day, not long after we'd been doing successfully in Chicago clubs, Dad brought home a tape of some songs we'd never heard before. We were accustomed to doing popular stuff off the radio, so we were curious why he began playing these songs over and over again. Just one guy singing none too well with some guitar chords in the background. Dad told us that the man on the tape wasn't really a performer, but a songwriter who owned a recording studio in Gary. His name was Mr. Keith, and he had given us a week to practice his songs to see if we could make a record out of them. Naturally, we were excited. We wanted to make a record, any record. We worked strictly on the sound, ignoring the dancing routines we'd normally work up for a new song. It wasn't as much fun to do a song that none of us knew, but we were already professional enough to hide our disappointment and give it all we could. When we were ready and felt we had done our best with the material, Dad got us on tape after a few false starts and more than a few pep talks, of course. After a day or two of trying to figure out whether Mr. Keith liked the tape we had made for him, Dad suddenly appeared with more of his songs for us to learn for our first recording session. Mr. Keith, like Dad, was a mill worker who loved music, only he was more into the recording and business end. His studio and label were called Steeltown. Looking back on all this, I realized Mr. Keith was just as excited as we were. His studio was downtown, and we went early one Saturday morning before the Roadrunner show, my favorite show at the time. Mr. Keith met us at the door and opened the studio. He showed us a small glass booth with all kinds of equipment in it and explained what various tasks each performed. It didn't look like we'd have to lean over any more tape recorders, at least not in this studio. I put on some big metal headphones which came halfway down my neck and tried to make myself look ready for anything. As my brothers were figuring out where to plug in their instruments and stand, some backup singers and a horn section arrived. At first I assumed they were there to make a record after us. We were delighted and amazed when we found out they were there to record with us. We looked over at Dad, but he didn't change expression. He'd obviously known about it and approved. Even then, people knew not to throw Dad surprises. We were told to listen to Mr. Keith, who would instruct us while we were in the booth. If we did as he said, the record would take care of itself. After a few hours, we finished Mr. Keith's first song. Some of the backup singers and horn players hadn't made records either and found it difficult, but they also didn't have a perfectionist for a manager, so they weren't used to doing things over and over the way we were. It was at times like these that we realized how hard Dad worked to make us consummate professionals. We came back the next few Saturdays, putting the songs we'd rehearsed during the week into the can and taking home a new tape of Mr. Keith's each time. One Saturday, Dad even brought his guitar in to perform with us. It was the one and only time he ever recorded with us. After the records were pressed, Mr. Keith gave us some copies so that we could sell them between sets and after shows.
Yo, I never thought of that. Interesting. All this time, I never thought Joe Jackson never once tried to play with his kids. I'm just now thinking of that. Like, he never once even tried to do like a feature. He allowed his kids to be the performers. He just stayed in the background. That is intriguing. I wonder why that was. Well, I guess because the kids that's the show. Like, why would you have the father? Like, I guess it kind of messes up the vibe if you have the father, performing with the kids. But especially once they got older and they already were a name. I'm kind of shocked that he didn't at least try to maybe do a background vocal or something one time for the good time. Like, that is intriguing. I never thought of that. I wonder why he never did that.
We knew that wasn't how the big groups did it, but everyone had to start someplace. And in those days, having a record with your group's name on it was quite something. We felt very fortunate. That first Steeltown single, Big Boy, had a mean bass line. It was a nice song about a kid who wanted to fall in love with some girl. Of course, in order to get the full picture, you have to imagine a skinny 9-year-old singing this song. The words said I didn't want to hear fairy tales anymore, but in truth I was far too young to grasp the real meanings of most of the words in these songs. I just sang what they gave me. When that record with its killer bass line began to get radio play in Gary, we became a big deal in Out Neighborhood. No one could believe we had our own record. We had a hard time believing it. After that first Steeltown record, we began to aim for all the big talent shows in Chicago. Usually the other acts would look me over carefully when they met me because I was so little, particularly the ones who went on after us. One day Jackie was cracking up like someone had told him the funniest joke in the world. This wasn't a good sign right before a show, and I could tell Dad was worried he was going to screw up on stage. Dad went over to say a word to him, but Jackie whispered something in his ear, and soon Dad was holding his sides, laughing. I wanted to know the joke too. Dad said proudly that Jackie had overheard the headlining act talking among themselves. One guy said, "We'd better not let those Jackson 5 cut us tonight with that midget they've got." I was upset at first because my feelings were hurt. I thought they were being mean. I couldn't help it that I was the shortest, but soon all the other brothers were cracking up too.
I'm so sorry.
Dad,
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Michael. I'm so sorry, dog. Yo, that's crazy. They call my man Michael a midget, bro. Nah, son. That's crazy. I'm so sorry, Michael. That's hilarious. Like the fact that people were getting outworked by an 8-year-old, like the fact that Michael was so good at 8 or 9, however old he was, that they were like, yo, we can't allow that 9, they can't allow that midget, that freaking preschooler to get us today. We ain't gonna do it today. Like, yo, that's how good Michael was, bro. And that's how good the band was, but that's hilarious. Like, we can't allow that midget to get us. That's yo, that's crazy.
explained that they weren't laughing at me. He told me that I should be proud.
Yeah.
The group was talking trash because they thought I was a grown-up posing as a child like one of the Munchkins in The Wizard of Oz. Dad said that if I had those slick guys talking like the neighborhood kids who gave us grief back in Gary, then we had Chicago on the run. We still had some running of our own to do. After we played some pretty good clubs in Chicago, Dad signed us up for the Royal Theater Amateur Night Competition in town. He had gone to see B.B. King at the Regal the night he made his famous live album. When Dad gave Tito that sharp red guitar years earlier, we had teased him by thinking of girls he could name his guitar after, like B.B. King's Lucille. We won that show for 3 straight weeks, with a new song every week to keep the regular members of the audience guessing. Some of the other performers complained that it was greedy for us to keep coming back, but they were after the same thing we were.
Yeah.
There was a policy that if you won the amateur night 3 straight times, you'd be invited back to do a paid show for thousands of people, not dozens like the audiences we were playing to in bars. We got that opportunity, and the show was headlined by Gladys Knight and the Pips, who were breaking in a new song no one knew called I Heard It Through the Grapevine.
Wow.
It was a heady night. After Chicago, we had one more big amateur show we really felt we needed to win.
Like when people ask, what happened to music? Like Michael and the Jacksons were literally going through an era to where everyone was talented. Like Gladys Knight, B.B. King, like who's that today? Like who are the legends today that people got to go through to get a record deal? Like these people had to like literally fight for years to even get a record on the radio. Now you can just upload it on SoundCloud or YouTube, and now you can get viral, or TikTok. The hunger ain't there no more because it's too easy to get a record today. Like it's just too easy. It just ain't there. It just ain't there. Oh, I think I saw this. Shout out to She Loves Snacks. React to the new Jackson studio footage recording Jump from Joy Sigma Studio Sounds. When you get a chance, add it to the list, my friend. I'm gonna add it to the list.
In the Apollo Theater in New York City, a lot of Chicago people thought a win at the Apollo was just a good luck charm and nothing more. But Dad saw it as much more than that. He knew New York had a high caliber of talent just like Chicago, and he knew there were more record people and professional musicians in New York than Chicago. If we could make it in New York, we could make it anywhere. That's what a win at the Apollo meant to us. Chicago had sent a kind of scouting report on us to New York, and our reputation was such that the Apollo entered us in the Superdog finals, even though we hadn't been to any of the preliminary competitions. By this time, Gladys Knight had already talked to us about coming to Motown, as had Bobby Taylor, a member of the Vancouvers with whom my father had become friendly.
What?
Dad had told them we'd be happy to audition for Motown,
Hell yeah.
but that was an out future. We got to the Apollo at 125th Street early enough to get a guided tour. We walked through the theater and stared at all of the pictures of the stars who'd played there, white as well as black. The manager concluded by showing us to the dressing room, but by then I had found pictures of all my favorites. While my brothers and I were paying dues on the so-called Chitlin circuit, opening for other acts, I carefully watched all the stars because I wanted to learn as much as I could. I'd stare at their feet, the way they held their arms, the way they gripped gripped a microphone, trying to decipher what they were doing and why they were doing it. After studying James Brown from the wings, I knew every step, every grunt, every spin and turn. I have to say, he would give a performance that would exhaust you, just wear you out emotionally. His whole physical presence, the fire coming out of his pores, would be phenomenal. You'd feel every bead of sweat on his face, and you'd know what he was going through. I've never seen anybody perform like him. Unbelievable, really. When I watched somebody I liked, I'd be there. James Brown, Jackie Wilson, Sam and Dave, the OJs, they all used to really work an audience. I might have learned more from watching Jackie Wilson than from anyone or anything else. All of this was a very important part of my education. We would stand off stage behind the curtains and watch everyone come off after performing, and they'd be all sweaty. I'd just stand aside in awe and watch them walk by. And they would all wear these beautiful patent leather shoes. My whole dream seemed to center on having a pair of patent leather shoes. I remember being so heartbroken because they didn't make them in little boys' sizes. I'd go from store to store looking for patent leather shoes, and they'd say, "We don't make them that small." I was so sad because I wanted to have shoes that looked the way those stage shoes looked, polished and shining, turning red and orange when the lights hit them. Oh, how I wanted some patent leather shoes like the ones Jackie Wilson wore. Most of the time I'd be alone backstage. My brothers would be upstairs eating and talking, and I'd be down in the wings, crouching real low, holding onto the dusty, smelly curtain and watching the show.
That's why Michael's Michael. Like, those are the OGs. Jackie Wilson, James Brown, like, the OJs. Like, come on, man. And the fact that Michael, I think also because he was the lead, he felt the pressure of, I have to put, even though my brother's also putting on the show, I have to be the example. And plus, he really wanted to be them. Like, he idolized them. Like, he's a 9-year-old, 8-year-old studying them. Like, this man, Michael really wanted this. Like, he really wanted to be the greatest, bro. And just to think that he was able to do that. He was able to see all these people and be like, oh, I'm gonna do what you do, but I'm gonna do what you do, I'm gonna do what you do, but then I'm gonna take it to another level though. Like, that's crazy. Word. The Jackson 5 performed on Amateur Night at Apollo in August 1967, just before Michael's 9th birthday. He was barely 9. Barely 9. A little munchkin. Barely 9. Giving people work. You feel me? Like, come on, son. But also, I got to give props to, this is the last time I'm going to do it, I got to give props to Joe Jackson, too. Because he instilled that discipline in him as well. But, yeah, that's crazy, man. Like, his discipline. Like, I think, out of anything, as much, Michael's discipline, which includes into hard work, is why Michael became what he became. His discipline. Like, he was relentless when it came to wanting to put on a show. Like, it's unmatched.
I mean, I really did watch every step, every move, every twist, every turn, every grind, every emotion, every light move. That was my education and my recreation. I was always there when I had free time. My father, my brothers, other musicians, they all knew where to find me. They would tease me about it, but I was so absorbed in what I was seeing or in remembering what I had just seen that I didn't care. I remember all those theaters, the Regal, the Uptown, the Apollo, too many to name. The talent that came out of those places is of mythical proportions. The greatest education in the world is watching the masters at work.
Exactly.
You couldn't teach a person what I've learned just standing and watching. Some musicians, Springsteen and U2, for example, may feel they got their education from the streets. I'm a performed at heart. I got mine from the stage. Jackie Wilson was on the wall at the Apollo. The photographer captured him with one leg up, twisted but not out of position from catching the mic stand he'd just whipped back and forth. He could have been singing a sad lyric like Lonely Teardrops, and yet he had that audience so bug-eyed with his dancing that no one could feel sad or lonely. Sam and Dave's picture was down the corridor next to an old big band shot. Dad had become friendly with Sam Moore. I remember being happily amazed that he was nice to me when I met him for the first time. I had been singing his songs for so long that I thought he'd want to box my ears. And not far from them was the king of them all, Mr. Dynamite, Mr. Please Please himself, James Brown. Before he came along, a singer was a singer and a dancer was a dancer. A singer might have danced and a dancer might have sung, but unless you were Fred Astaire or Gene Kelly, you probably did one better than the other, especially in a live performance. But he changed all that. No spotlight could keep up with him when he skidded across the stage. You had to flood it. I wanted to be that good. We won the Apollo Amateur Night Competition, and I felt like going back to those photos on the walls and thanking my teachers. Dad was so happy he said he could have flown back to Gary that night. He was on top of the world, and so were we. My brothers and I had gotten straight A's, and we were hoping we might get to skip a grade. I certainly sensed that we wouldn't be doing talent shows and strip joints much longer. In the summer of 1968, we were introduced to the music of a family group that was going to change our sound and our lives. They didn't all have the same last name. They were black and white, men and women, and they were called Sly and the Family Stone. They had some amazing hits over the years, such as Dance to the Music, Stand, Hot Fun in the Summertime. My brothers would point at me when they heard the line about the midget standing tall, and by now I'd laugh along. We heard these songs all over the dial, even on the rock stations. They were a tremendous influence on all of us Jacksons, and we owe them a lot.
Yeah, I gotta do shout out to my sister Sasha. She literally a month before Sly died, she was like, "Yo, I know you gotta watch this doc." She said, "You gotta watch the doc of Sly the Family Stone." I said, "All right, I got you." And I was like, "Damn!" I forget what song it was. There's one of the songs from Sly and the Family Stone is one of the samples used in Rhythm Nation by Janet Jackson. But I'm like, yo, I was bugged out my mind. Like, yo, Sly and the Family Stone, I gotta do a reaction or a watch along to that documentary. That's crazy. It literally is like, bro, Sly was really like it again, it's like when you think someone has created something, you didn't if you dig deeper, you find out no, there was someone that did it before them. Like somebody did before them. Like, well, I just watched Little Richard documentary. I'm like, damn, he created that. Then I watched Sly and the Family Stone. Like, damn, he created that. Then I watch it's like you. The more you dig into the crates of these greats, it's like, yo, a lot of these folks, a lot of these unsung heroes, a lot of these legends really created things before they were even a thing. They didn't even know what to call it. Like, it's crazy. It really is. It really is.
After the Apollo, we kept playing with one eye on the map and one ear to the phone. Mom and Dad had a rule about no more than 5 minutes a call, but when we came back from the Apollo, even 5 minutes was too long. We had to keep the lines clear in case anyone from a record company wanted to get in touch with us. We lived in fear of having them get a busy signal. We wanted to hear from one record company in particular, and if they called, we wanted to answer. While we waited, we found out that someone who had seen us at the Apollo had recommended us to the David Frost Show in New York City. We were going to be on TV. That was the biggest thrill we'd ever had. I told everyone at school and told the ones who didn't believe me twice. We were going to drive out there in a few days. I was counting the hours. I had imagined the whole trip, trying to figure out what the studio would be like and how it would be to look into a television camera. I came home with the traveling work my teacher had made up in advance. We had one more dress rehearsal and then we'd make a final song selection. I wondered which songs we'd be doing. That afternoon, Dad said the trip to New York was canceled. We all stopped in our tracks and just stared at him. We were shocked. I was ready to cry. We had been about to get our big break. How could they do this to us? What was going on? Why had Mr. Frost changed his mind? I was reeling, and I think everyone else was too. I canceled it, my father announced calmly. Again, we all stared at him, unable to speak. Motown called. A chill ran down my spine. I
Let's
remember the
go.
days leading up to that trip with near-perfect clarity. I can see myself waiting outside Randy's first-grade classroom. It was Marlon's turn to walk him home, but we switched for today. Randy's teacher wished me luck in Detroit because Randy had told her we were going to Motown to audition. He was so excited that I had to remind myself that he didn't really know what Detroit was. All the family had been talking about was Motown, and Randy didn't even know what a city was. The teacher told me he was looking for Motown on the globe in the classroom. She said that in her opinion, we should do You Don't Know Like I Know, the way she saw us do it at the Regal in Chicago when a bunch of teachers drove over to see us. I helped Randy put his coat on and politely agreed to keep it in mind, knowing that
As soon as I heard You Don't Know Like I Know, I automatically go, someone who's grew up in church, I hear, you don't know like I know what the Lord done for me. Shout out to Timothy Wright, Reverend Timothy Wright, the godfather of, well, James Cleveland's the godfather, but Timothy Wright is like the godfather junior of gospel. Like,
we couldn't do a Sam and Dave song at a Motown audition because they were on Stax, a rival label. Dad told us the companies were serious about that kind of stuff, so he wanted us to know there'd be no messing around when we got there. He looked at me and said he'd like to see his 10-year-old singer make it to 11. We left the Garrett Elementary School building for the short walk home, but we had to hurry. I remember getting anxious as a car swept by, then another. Randy took my hand and we waved to the crossing guard. I knew LaToya would have to go out of her way tomorrow to take Randy to school because Marlon and I would be staying over in Detroit with the others. The last time we played at the Fox Theater in Detroit, we left right after the show and got back to Gary at 5 o'clock in the morning. I slept in the car most of the way, so going to school that morning wasn't as bad as it might have been. But by the afternoon 3 o'clock rehearsal, I was dragging around like someone with lead weights for feet. We could have left that night right after our set since we were third on the bill, but that would have meant missing the headliner, Jackie Wilson. I'd seen him on other stages, but at the Fox, he and his band were on a rising stage that moved up as he started his show. Tired as I was after school the next day, I remember trying some of those moves in rehearsal after practicing in front of a long mirror in the bathroom at school while the other kids looked on. My father was pleased and we incorporated those steps into one of my routines. Just before Randy and I turned the corner onto Jackson Street, there was a big puddle. I looked for cars, but there weren't any, so I let go of Randy's hand and jumped the puddle, catching on my toes so I could spin without getting the cuffs of my corduroys wet. I looked back at Randy knowing that he wanted to do the things I did. He stepped back to get a running start, but I realized that it was a pretty big puddle, too big for him to cross without getting wet, so being a big brother first and a dance teacher second, I caught him before he landed short and got wet. Across the street, the neighborhood kids were buying candy, and even some of the kids who were giving me a hard time at school asked when we were going to Motown. I told them and bought candy for them and Randy too with my allowance. I didn't want Randy to feel bad about my going away. As we approached the house, I heard Marlon yell, "Someone shut that door!" The side of out VW minibus was wide open, and I shuddered, thinking about how cold it was going to be on the long ride up to Detroit. Marlon had beat us home and was already helping Jackie load the bus with our stuff. Jackie and Tito got home in plenty of time for once. They were supposed to have basketball practice, but the winter in Indiana had been nothing but slush, and we were anxious to get a good start. Jackie was on the high school basketball team that year, and Dad liked to say that the next time we went to play in Indianapolis would be when Roosevelt went to the state championships. The Jackson Five would play between the evening and morning games, and Jackie would sink the winning shot for the title. Dad liked to tease us, but you never knew what might happen with the Jacksons. He wanted us to be good at many things, not just music. I think maybe he got that drive from his father, who taught school. I know my teachers were never as hard on us as he was, and they were getting paid to be tough and demanding. Mom came to the door and gave us the thermos and the sandwiches she had packed. I remember her telling me not to rip the dress shirt she had packed for me after sewing it up the night before. Randy and I helped put some things in the bus and then went back into the kitchen, where Rebby was keeping one eye on Dad's supper and the other on little Janet, who was in the high chair. Rebby's life was never easy as the oldest. We knew that as soon as the Mottown audition was over, we'd find out if we had to move or not. If we did, she was going to move south with her fiancé. She always ran things when Mom was at night school, finishing the high school diploma she was denied because of her illness. I couldn't believe it when Mom told us she was going to get her diploma. I remember worrying that she'd have to go to school with kids Jackie's or Tito's age and that they'd laugh at her. I remember how she laughed when I told her this and how she patiently explained that she'd be with other grown-ups. It was interesting having a mother who did homework like the rest of us. Loading up the bus was easier than usual. Normally Ronnie and Johnny would have come to back us up, but Motown's own musicians would be playing Being Us, so we were going alone. Jermaine was in our room finishing some of his assignments when I walked in. I knew he wanted to get them out of the way. He told me that we ought to take off for Motown by ourselves and leave Dad, since Jackie had taken driver's ed and was in possession of a set of keys. We both laughed, but deep down I couldn't imagine going without Dad, even on the occasions when Mom let out after-school rehearsals because Dad hadn't come home from his shift on time. It was still like having him there because she acted as his eyes and ears. She always knew what had been good the night before and what had gotten sloppy today. Dad would pick it up from there at night. It seemed to me that they almost gave each other signals or something. Dad could always tell if we had been playing like we were supposed to by some invisible indication from Mom. There was no long goodbye at the door when we left for Motown. Mom was used to our being away for days and during school vacations. LaToya pouted a little because she wanted to go. She had only seen us in Chicago, and we had never been able to stay long enough in places like Boston or Phoenix to bring her back anything. I think our lives must have seemed pretty glamorous to her because she had to stay home and go to school. Rebby had her hands full trying to put Janet to sleep, but she called goodbye and waved. I gave Randy a last pat on the head, and we were off. Dad and Jackie went over the map as we drove away, mostly out of habit, because we had been to Detroit before, of course. We passed Mr. Keith's recording studio downtown by City Hall as we made our way through town. We had done some demos at Mr. Keith's that Dad sent to Motown after the Steeltown record. The sun was going down when we hit the highway. Marlon announced that if we heard one of our records on WVON, it was going to bring us luck. We all nodded. Dad asked us if we remembered what WVON stood for as he nudged Jackie to keep quiet. I kept looking out the window, thinking about the possibilities that lay ahead, but Jermaine jumped in. Voice of the Negro, he said. Soon we were calling roll all over the dial. WGN, world's greatest newspaper. The Chicago Tribune owned it. WLS, world's largest store. Sears, WCFL. We stopped, stumped. Chicago Federation of Labor, Dad said, motioning for the thermos. We turned onto I-94 and the Gary station faded into a Kalamazoo station. We began flipping around, looking for Beatle music on CKLW from Windsor, Ontario, Canada. I had always been a Monopoly fan at home, and there was something about driving to Motown that was a little like that game. In Monopoly, you go around the board buying things and making decisions. The Chitlin circuit of theaters where we played and won contests was kind of like a Monopoly board, full of possibilities and pitfalls. After all the stops along the way, we finally landed at the Apollo Theater in Harlem.
I keep thinking of just all the other talents that probably were just as talented as the Jacksons that never made it. Like, think of like all the talents in Gary, Indiana or Harlem or wherever that were just as good, but just didn't get that one look or just didn't get that one performance right that just never made it. I don't know, just sometimes I just wonder, like, man, there are probably so many talented people that we just never got to hear or see because you just never got the opportunity. I don't know why my mind wandered thinking about that, but them talking about, you know, having to do the talent shows and outlasting other people. Like, they probably were just well, they probably weren't just as talented because they ain't have the munchkin called Michael, but they probably were good as well. But man, I hope they were able to. The people that never made it, I hope they were able to find a new purpose. As someone who I don't know what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. Like, I want to go into creative spaces and things of that nature, whether it's music, writing, whatever. And as someone who's always dreaming, it's like sometimes it's hard to be like, well, if I don't make it in this avenue, then where do I go from here? So I'm just always wondering about, man, what happened to the people that didn't make it? What did they do? You know, also I went into a different route than y'all probably was expecting. My bad. I was just thinking. All right.
Which was definitely Park Place for young performers like us. Now we were on our way up Boardwalk, heading for Mottown. Would we win the game or slide past Go with a long board separating us from our goal for another round? There was something changing in me, and I could feel it, even shivering in the minibus. For years we'd make the drive over to Chicago, wondering if we were good enough to ever get out of Gary, and we were. Then we took the drive to New York, certain that we'd fall off the edge of the earth if we weren't good enough to make it there. Even those nights in Philadelphia and Washington didn't reassure me enough to keep me from wondering if there wasn't someone or some group we didn't know about in New York who could beat us. When we tore it down at the Apollo, we finally felt that nothing could stand in our way. We were going to Motown, and nothing there was going to surprise us either. We were going to surprise them, just like we always did. Dad pulled the typewritten directions out of the glove compartment, and we pulled off the highway, passing the Woodward Avenue exit. There weren't many people on the streets because it was a school night for everybody else. Dad was a little nervous about whether our accommodations would be okay, which surprised me until I realized the Motown people had picked the hotel. We weren't used to having things done for us. We liked to be our own bosses. Dad had always been our booking agent, travel agent, and manager. When he wasn't taking care of the arrangements, Mom was. So it was no wonder that even Motown managed to make Dad feel suspicious that he should have made the reservations, that he should have handled everything. We stayed at the Gotham Hotel. The reservations had been made and everything was in order. There was a TV in our room, but all the stations had signed off, and with the audition at 10 o'clock, we weren't going to get to...
Oh, sorry, my brain trying to... You stay at the Gotham Hotel? If I get that right, you stay at the Gotham Hotel? Was the Riddler and freaking the Joker there too? Hold on. Run that back. I'll just make sure I heard that correctly. I'll just make sure I'm not bugging.
Motown managed to make Dad feel suspicious that he should have made the reservations, that he should have handled everything. We stayed at the Gotham Hotel. The reservations had been made and everything was in order. There was a TV in our room, but all the stations had signed off, and with the audition at 10 o'clock, we weren't going to get to stay up any later anyway. Dad put us right to bed, locked the door, and went out. Jermaine and I were too tired to even talk. We were all up on time the next morning. Dad saw to that. But in truth, we were just as excited as he was and hopped out of bed when we called us. The audition was unusual for us because we hadn't played in many places where they expected us to be professional. We knew it was going to be difficult to judge whether we were doing well. We were used to audience response, whether we were competing or just performing at a club. But Dad had told us the longer we stayed, the more they wanted to hear. We climbed into the VW after cereal and milk at the coffee shop. I noticed they offered grits on the menu, so I knew there were a lot of Southern people who stayed there. We had never been to the South then and wanted to visit Mom's part of the country someday. We wanted to have a sense of our roots and those of other black people, especially after what had happened to Dr. King. I remember so well the day he died. Everyone was torn up. We didn't rehearse that night. I went to Kingdom Hall with Mom and some of the others. People were crying like they had lost a member of their own family. Even the men who were usually pretty unemotional were unable to control their grief. I was too young to grasp the full tragedy of the situation, but when I look back on that day now, it makes me want to cry for Dr. King, for his family, and for all of us. Jermaine was the first to spot the studio, which was known as Hitsville, USA. It looked kind of run down, which was not what I'd expected. We wondered who we might see, who might be there making a record that day. Dad had coached us to let him do all the talking. Our job was to perform like we'd never performed before, and that was asking a lot, because we always put everything into each performance, but we knew what he meant. There were a lot of people waiting inside, but Dad said the password, and a man in a shirt and tie came out to meet us. He knew each of our names, which astounded us. He asked us to leave our coats there and follow him. The other people just stared through us like we were ghosts. I wondered who they were and what their stories
Did you say ghosts? Oh, right. Go ahead.
were. Had they traveled far? Had they been here day after day hoping to get in without an appointment? When we entered the studio, one of the Mottown guys was adjusting a movie camera. There was an area set up with instruments and microphones. Dad disappeared into one of the sound booths to talk to someone. I tried to pretend that I was at the Fox Theater on the rising stage, and this was just business as usual. I decided, looking around, that if I ever built my own studio, I'd get a mic like the one they had at the Apollo, which rose out of the floor. I nearly fell on my face once running down those basement steps while trying to find out where it went when it slowly disappeared beneath the stage floor. The last song we sang was Who's Lovin' You? When it ended, no one applauded or said a word. I couldn't stand not knowing, so I blurted, "How was that?" Jermaine shushed me. The older guys who were backing us up were laughing about something. I looked at them out of the corner of my eye. "Jackson Jive, huh?" one of them called out with a big grin on his face. I was confused. I think my brothers were too. The man who had led us back said, "Thanks for coming up." We looked at Dad's face for some indication, but he didn't seem pleased or disappointed. It was still daylight out when we left. We took I-94 back to Gary, subdued, knowing there was homework to do for class tomorrow, wondering if that was all there was to that.
So that is chapter 1 of Moonwalk. How was that? It's just when he said how was that, I think of the American Dream movie with shout out to Jason Weaver, man. Oh, they should have gave him something. I don't know what he could have gave him for that performance, but give him something. I don't know if he can get an Oscar for it, but give him something. Give him a Grammy for it at least. How was that? Very well, Michael. Very well. He's like, very good. Michael, like, oh, we're gonna go to Motown. Yo, I love this freaking American Dream movie, son. Yo, I'm probably gonna watch that this weekend, dog. I love that movie. All right, so we're gonna make an executive decision right now. Do we do chapter 2 or do we wait to do it this weekend? How long is chapter 2? Oh, let me see. How we feeling right now? Are we good? How many of y'all at work? How many of y'all at home? How many of y'all just chilling? How we feeling right now? How does it feel? Have it your way. Let's see. Let's see. How long is chapter 2? Check it out right now. That's a very good first chapter. Again, I've never read or listened to Moonwalk, so I was intrigued to see what it's about. And it seemed like he's really giving a detailed version of how he got to where he is. I don't know where the cutoff is in regards to how the book ends. But again, shout out to the guy that made this, T-Bone Books. The inflections and everything sound just like Michael. Like the tone might be a little bit off, but chill at home. We'll love listening to more AI Mike. We might do one more chapter. I ain't gonna hold you. I got at least another hour or so before I can get to going. But I might be able to do one more chapter. Might as well, because I'm intrigued now. Even though I see, oh, it's only 36 minutes, chapter 2. Oh yeah, we can at least get chapter 2 out the way. Out the way. Okay. Yeah, but it's like while he's talking, it's like I have a visual of American Dream. Like I'm just seeing that. But you know what? I think we're gonna do chapter 2. Also, for anybody that sees this live or anybody that's in the chat, let me know a plan to. I never made a promise that I can't keep. Uh, I'm gonna try to go live this weekend. Probably at least Saturday. Sunday, I don't know. But I'm at least try to go live Saturday. Probably in the morning. So let me know like what you want me to react to. That I don't know if I could do that though, because music is tricky. It's kind of hard to do reactions to certain things because of copyright. It might, we'll figure it out. But just stuff you want me to react to, I'll see if I can work around it. Let's see. We got Daryl. Hold on. Let me first shout out Cat Sarah again. At home chilling. Let's see. Daryl Thomas. I'm at work. Can listen at my desk. Okay, if you, it's on you if you feel like it. All right. Headset hub. I bet. All right. So we're gonna do one more chapter. We'll see where we at with it. Chapter 2 is Promised Land. So we about to get right into it. Let's start. For those that missed the live, again, if you see this by today or tomorrow, you'll be able to join us on Saturday because I'm gonna try to probably around like 10 Eastern Standard Time, probably around 10 or so. So don't be fretful because you missed this live in case you did miss it and you see this on playback. All right, try to go live a little bit more. All right, let's see. I don't like that look. I like the. So Michael, I don't like that camera. I like here. Hold on. I got full screen it. Don't wonder. All right, we back. All right, let's go. Chapter 2, Promised Land. Boom.
Chapter 2, The Promised Land. We were jubilant when we learned we had passed the Mottown audition. I remember Berry Gordy sitting us all down and saying that we were going to make history together. I'm going to make you the biggest thing in the world, he said, and you're going to be written about in history books. He really said that to us. We were leaning forward, listening to him and saying, okay. I'll never forget that. We were all over at his house, and it was like a fairy tale come true listening to this powerful, talented man tell us we were going to be very big. Your first record will be a #1, your second record will be a #1, and so will your third record. 3 #1 records in a row. You'll hit the charts just as Diana Ross and the Supremes did. This was almost...
Oh, he really... I don't remember that. He said up front, you're going to have 3 #1s back to back to back? Barry had it like that? That's a hell of a selling pitch. And the fact that they were able to actually do that, and I think they have 4 #1s back to back to back to back, which is that's still crazy to me. They were able to do that. Like that's insane to me. Like, wow, he must have really saw something. Barry and Motown really saw something in the Jacksons, man. You said you're gonna get 3 #1s, and they did it. They actually did 4 of them. Wow.
unheard of in those days, but he was right. We turned around and did just that, 3 in a row. So Diana didn't find us first, but I don't think we'll ever be able to repay Diana properly for all she did for us in those days. When we finally moved to Southern California, we actually lived with Diana and stayed with her for more than a year on a part-time basis. Some of us lived with Berry Gordy and some of us with Diana, and then we would switch. She was so wonderful, mothering us and making us feel right at home. She really helped take care of us for at least a year and a half, while my parents closed up the Gary house and looked for a house we could all live in here in California. It was great for us because Barry and Diana lived on the same street in Beverly Hills. We could walk up to Barry's house and then go back to Diana's. Most of the time I'd spend the day at Diana's and the night at Barry's. This was an important period in my life because Diana loved art and encouraged me to appreciate it too. She took the time to educate me about it. We'd go out almost every day, just the two of us, and buy pencils and paint. When we weren't drawing or painting, we'd go to museums. She introduced me to the works of the great artists like Michelangelo and Degas, and that was the start of my lifelong interest in art. She really taught me a great deal. It was so new to me and exciting. It was really different from what I was used to doing, which was living and breathing music, rehearsing day in and day out. You wouldn't think a big star like Diana would take the time to teach a kid to paint, to give him an education in art, but she did, and I loved her for it. I still do. I'm crazy about her. She was my mother, my lover, and my sister, all combined in one amazing person. Those were truly wild days for me and my brother.
That's what he said. So apparently they did. Hey, that's dope though. And it's so funny. Michael literally, oh man, this dude, I don't know, this guy might be an alien for real. Like this dude can literally do anything artistic wise. Like this dude could draw, he could sing, he could dance. Like, oh, what was he missing? He could write. Like he could literally do anything artistically. Like you give him something to do, he can do it. Like that's a rare thing. Like it's crazy to me. But that's super dope that he was able to, him and Diana was able to go out, go to museums, learn art, and learn, you know. I'm sorry. It's super dope that Diana did that. That's super dope she did that. I'm gonna leave it at that. it's just I think we probably that gets me. Yeah. Dirty Diana.
Others. When we flew to California from Chicago, it was like being in another country, another world. To come from our part of Indiana, which is so urban and often bleak, and to land in Southern California was like having the world transformed into a wonderful dream. I was uncontrollable back then. I was all over the place. Disneyland, Sunset Strip, the beach. My brothers loved it too, and we got into everything like kids who had just visited a candy store for the first time. We were awestruck by California. Trees had oranges and leaves on them in the middle of winter. There were palm trees and beautiful sunsets, and the weather was so warm. Every day was special. I would be doing something that was fun and wouldn't want it to end, but then I'd realize there was something else to do later that was going to be just as enjoyable and that I could look forward to just as much. Those were heady days. One of the best parts of being there was meeting all the big Motown stars who had emigrated to California along with Berry Gordy after he moved from Detroit. I remember when I first shook Smokey Robinson's hand. It was like shaking hands with a king. My eyes lit up with stars. I remember telling my mother that his hand felt as if it was layered with soft pillows. You don't think about the little impressions people walk away with when you're a star yourself, but the fans do.
Like we can low key have this conversation right now. I do find it to be very odd, like the relationship between Diana and Michael, because in the beginning it was very motherly, right? But then even if you watch, I forget what it was, like Michael doing some type of like sketch or something with Diana, and he was acting like Diana's boyfriend, or whatever. And then you get to the off the wall era, is when you start to see like the change in terms of like how they are on screen, right? When they do the whole performance together. And Diana's like, I didn't know it was gonna be so sexy, right? It was like, okay. That's okay. Okay, Diana. And then Michael returned the favor. It was like, that still feels weird to me. It feels like grooming. I don't want to say it was grooming, but it low key kind of feels like grooming. A little bit. You know, I'm not trying to put nothing on Diana's jacket, but it feels a little bit like grooming to me. But you only hear that from me, though.
At least I know I did. I mean, I walked around saying, his hand is so soft. When I think about
Huh?
it now, it sounds silly, but it made a big impression
I'm
on
sorry.
me.
I'm sorry. That caught me off guard. Hold on. So run that back. What you talking about?
Remember when I first shook Smokey Robinson's hand.
Oh,
It
okay.
was like shaking hands with a king. My eyes lit up with stars. I remember telling my mother that his hand felt as if it was layered with soft pillows. You don't think about the little impressions people walk away with when you're a star yourself, but the fans do. At least I know I did. I mean, I walked around saying, his hand is so soft. When I think about it now, it sounds silly, but it made a big impression on me. I had shaken Smokey Robinson's hand. There are so many artists and musicians and writers I admire. When I was young, the people I watched were the real showmen. James Brown, Sammy Davis Jr., Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly. A great showman touches everybody. That's the real test of greatness, and these men have it. Like Michelangelo's work, it touches you. I don't care who you are. I am always excited when I get a chance to meet someone whose work has affected me in some way. Maybe I've read a book that has touched me deeply or made me think about things that I haven't focused on before. A certain song or style of singing can excite me or move me and become a favorite that I'll never tire of hearing. A picture or a painting can reveal a universe. In the same vein, an actor's performance or a collective performance can transform me. In those days, Motown had never recorded a kids group. In fact, the only child singer they had ever produced was Stevie Wonder. So Motown was determined that if they were going to promote kids,
Oh, we're gonna chill real quick because the signal look a little weak right now. It is raining where I'm at on the East Coast, so I'm gonna give it a little while. I'll probably sound real choppy right now. I'll just give it a little second. Signal might be a little off. So, but also Smokey, I forget about Smokey Robinson too. Like Smokey Robinson was also, I think, integral as someone who was at Motown as well for helping with the Jacksons and Michael development. But again, look at all the people. I think we should be good. Okay, yeah, look at all the people that Michael had, bro. Like, how was he not going to be successful? Like, he had all these legends, like all these legends to help him curate who he would be as an artist. Like, there's no way he couldn't be successful, along with the discipline of his father and his brothers.
they'd promote the kind of kids who were good at more than just singing and dancing. They wanted people to like us because of who we were, not just because of our records. They wanted us to set an example by sticking to our schoolwork and being friendly to our fans, reporters, and everyone who came in contact with us. This wasn't hard for us because our mother had raised us to be polite and considerate. It was second nature. Our only problem with schoolwork was that once we became well known, we couldn't go to school because people would come into our classrooms through the windows looking for an autograph or a picture. I was trying to keep up with my classes and not to be the cause of disruptions, but it finally became impossible, and we were given tutors to teach us at home. During this period, a lady named Suzanne DePass was having a great effect on our
Suzanne.
lives.
I wonder
She
when we're gonna
worked
hear
for
about her.
Motown, and it was she who trained us religiously once we moved to LA. She also became a manager for the Jackson 5. We lived with her occasionally, ate with her, and even played with her. We were a rowdy, high-spirited bunch, and she was young herself and full of fun. She really contributed a lot toward the shaping of the Jackson 5, and I'll never be able to thank her enough for all she did. I remember Suzanne showing us these charcoal sketches.
Shout out to Suzanne. Suzanne, another unsung hero of the development of Michael in the Jacksons. We gotta if I I'm trying to think, I can't remember because I was going to sometime back do a reaction to the Jacksons documentary, which kind of shows the rehearsals and stuff of the early Jacksons that has Suzanne in there. I can't remember if it's copyrighted or not. But either way, by this weekend, I'll do a reaction to that, whether I'm on live or if I have to do it as a regular video. But yeah, shout out to Suzanne, man.
Of the five of us. In each sketch, we had a different hairstyle. In another set of color drawings, we were all pictured in different clothes that could be switched around like color forms. After we all decided on the hairstyles, they took us to a barber so he could make us match up with our pictures. Then, after she showed us the clothes, we went down to a wardrobe department where they gave us outfits to try on. They'd see us in one set of clothes, decide the clothes weren't right, and we'd all go back to the color forms to try on some more. We had classes in manners and grammar. They gave us a list of questions, and they said they were the kinds of questions that we could expect people to ask us. We were always being asked about our interests and our hometown and how we liked singing together. Fans and reporters alike wanted to know how old we each were when we started performing. It was hard to have your life turn into public property, even if you appreciated that people were interested in you because of your music. The Motown people tested us on the answers to questions we hadn't heard from anyone yet. They tested us on grammar and table manners. When we were ready, they brought us in for the last alterations on our sleeves and the trimming of our new afros. After all that, there was a new song to learn called I Want You Back.
Hey.
The song had a story behind it that we found out about little by little. It was written by someone from Chicago named Freddie Perrin. He had been Jerry Butler's pianist when we opened for Jerry in a Chicago nightclub. He had felt sorry for these little kids the club owner had hired, figuring the club couldn't afford to get anyone else. His opinion changed dramatically when he saw us perform. As it turned out, I Want You Back was originally called I Want to Be Free and was written for Gladys Knight. Freddie had even thought that Barry might go over Gladys's head and give the song to the Supremes. Instead, he mentioned to Jerry that he'd just signed this group of kids from Gary, Indiana. Freddie put two and two together, realized it was us, and decided to trust fate. When we were learning the Steeltown songs back in Gary, Tito and Jermaine had to pay special attention because they were responsible for playing on those records. When they heard the demo for I Want You Back, they listened to the guitar and bass parts, but Dad explained that Motown didn't expect them to play on our records. The rhythm track would be taken care of before we put our vocals down. But he reminded them that this would put more pressure on them to keep up their practice independently because we'd have to duplicate those songs in front of our fans. In the meantime, all of us had lyrics and cues to learn. The guys looking after us in the singing department were Freddie Perrin and Bobby
So I Want You Back could have actually been I Want to Be Free, and it could have been sung by Gladys Knight. That is intriguing. That is intriguing. And I'm sure Gladys Knight and the Pips would have tore it down. And they could have easily politicked to get the song too. Now in my brain, I'm trying to think what that would sound like if Gladys. Oh, baby, give me one more chance. Don't want to love you. Yo, interesting. I'm shocked they didn't have. You know what's interesting is I'm kind of shocked they didn't have more collabs. Like have a Diana or Gladys sing with the Jacksons to kind of give them, you know, the look. I'm kind of shocked they didn't do that.
Taylor and Deke Richards, who, along with Hal Davis and another Motown guy named Phonce Mazel, were part of the team that wrote and produced our first singles. Together, these guys were called The Corporation. We went over to Richards' apartment to rehearse, and he was impressed that we had prepared so well. He didn't have to do much tinkering with the vocal arrangement he'd worked out, and he thought that while we were still hot, we should go right to the studio and cut our parts. The following afternoon, we went to the studio. We were all so happy with what we got that we took our rough mix over to Berry Gordy. It was still mid-afternoon when we arrived at his studio. We figured that once Barry heard it, we'd be home in time for supper. But it was 1 a.m. when I finally slumped in the back seat of Richard's car, bobbing and steadying my head all the way home to fight off sleep. Gordy hadn't liked the song we did. We went over every part again, and when we did, Gordy figured out what changes he had to make in the arrangement. He was trying new things with us, like a school chorus master who has everyone singing their part as if they're singing alone, even if you can't hear him or her distinctly for the crowd. After he was through rehearsing us as a group and he had reworked the music, he took me aside one-on-one to explain my part. He told me exactly what he wanted and how he wanted me to help him get it. Then he explained everything to Freddie Perrin, who was going to record it. Barry was brilliant in this area. Right after the single was released, we went in to cut an album. We were particularly impressed with the I Want You Back session then, because that one song took more time and tape than all the other songs on the record combined. That's the way
Wow.
Motown did things in those days because Barry insisted on perfection and attention to detail. I'll never
Hmm.
forget his persistence. This was his genius. Then and later, I observed every moment of the sessions where Barry was present and never forgot what I learned. To this day, I use the same principles. Barry was my teacher and a great one. He could identify the little elements that would make a song great rather than just good. It was like magic, as if Barry was sprinkling pixie dust over everything. For me and my brothers, recording for
What's so interesting about Michael? Those songs like "I Want You Back" and "Love You Safe." Almost like Michael was given free reign, like to like ad lib or to just do whatever he felt while he was singing. I don't know if he was saying, "Hey, do a oh baby here" or what, but Michael felt like he was truly the lead, like for real. Like he was saying whatever he felt as a kid. Like it feels free. Like the music feels free. Like I don't know what changes they did or how they arranged it, but like Michael, man, the teachers this guy had, dog. Like, hot damn. No wonder we can never get another Michael Jackson again. Who are the teachers today that we could get? Like, no wonder we'll never get another Michael Jackson, bro.
Motown was an exciting experience. Our team of writers shaped our music by being with us as we recorded it over and over, molding and sculpting a song until it was just perfect. We would cut a track over and over for weeks until we got it just as they wanted it. And I could see while they were doing it that it was getting better and better. They would change words, arrangements, rhythms, everything. Barry gave them the freedom to work this way because of his own perfectionist nature. I guess if they hadn't been doing it, he would have. Barry had such a knack. He'd just walk into the room where we were working and tell me what to do, and he'd be right. It was amazing. When I Want You Back was released in November 1969, it sold 2 million copies in 6 weeks and went to number one. Our next single, ABC, came out in March 1970 and sold 2 million records in 3 weeks. I
Sheesh.
still like the part where I say, "Sit down, girl. I think I love you." "No, get up, girl. Show me what you can do." When our third single, The Love You Save, went to number one in June of 1970, Barry's promise came true. When our next single, I'll Be There, was also a big hit in the fall of that year, we realized we might even surpass Barry's expectations and be able to pay him back for all the effort he had made for us. My brothers and I, our whole family, were very proud. We had created a new sound for a new decade. It was the first time in recording history that a bunch of kids had made so many hit records. The Jackson 5 had never had much competition from kids our own age. In the amateur days, there was a kids group called the Five Stair Steps that we used to see. They were good, but they didn't seem to have the strong family unit that we did, and sadly, they broke up. After ABC hit the charts in such a big way, we started seeing other groups that record companies were grooming to ride the bandwagon we had built. I
As
enjoyed
usual.
all these groups, the Partridge Family, the Osmonds, the DeFranco Family. The Osmonds were already around, but they were doing a much different style of music, like barbershop harmony and crooning. As soon as we hit, they and the other groups got into soul real fast. We didn't
I
mind.
bet they did. I bet they did. That's the way of the world. Yep. Whatever's hot, okay. Let's go with whatever the wave is. That's the music industry. The Five Stair Steps. That is a dope name. That is a dope name. There is someone. Oh, I'm trying to remember because I asked the question: what if the Jackson Five? What if Jermaine was the lead and Michael never became the leader of the Jackson Five? There is this one group that I kept seeing like they would have been this such and such group. I don't know if I can find. I should be able to find it. Like there's one group that people kept talking about. I'm gonna see. Let me play this. I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, like I bet you everybody was trying to follow the model, but you can't be the Jacksons. Like it's different cloth. Like it's different. Like you can't copy it.
Competition, as we know, was healthy. Our own relatives thought one bad apple was us. I remember being so little that they had a special apple crate for me to stand on with my name on it so I could reach the microphone. Microphones didn't go down far enough for kids my age. So many of my childhood years went by that way, with me standing on that apple box singing my heart out while other kids were outside playing. As I said before, in those early days, the corporation at Motown produced and shaped all our music. I remember lots of times when I felt the song should be sung one way and the producers felt it should be sung another way. But for a long time, I was very obedient and wouldn't say anything about it. Finally, it reached a point where I got fed up with being told exactly how to sing. This was in 1972 when I was 14 years old, around the time of the song Looking Through the Windows. They wanted me to sing a certain way, and I knew they were wrong. No matter what age you are, if you have it and you know it, then people should listen to you. I was furious with our producers and very upset. So I called Berry Gordy and complained. I said that they had always told me how to sing, and I had agreed all this time, but now they were getting too mechanical. So he came into the studio and told them to let me do what I wanted to do. I think he told them to let me be more free or something. And after that, I started adding a lot of vocal twists that they really ended up loving. I do a lot of ad-libbing, like twisting words or adding some edge.
Did I not? Yo. I promise you, y'all, I've never listened to this. I've never watched this or never read this book or listened to this audio thing. I said there's something about Michael where it felt like he was able to ad-lib and be free while he's singing. Did I not just say that? Did I not just say that? I took, yo, come on, y'all. Come on, Saints. I said there was something about it, like I feel like he's able to be free when he's singing it, yo. But I'm trying to remember looking through the window. I can't remember how that goes. And I low key don't want to play it because YouTube get crazy if you start playing copyrighted stuff. Let me just hear it. Let me just hear it without the mic picking it up. Hold on 1 second. But the Silvers is the group that I was thinking of that could have been the new Jackson, the Jackson 5 possibly. But hold on, let me hear. Oh, looking through the window. That's a fast-paced song. Okay. Interesting. They're trying to be too technical. Like Michael, like, come on now. Allow me be free. That's interesting. Brady Gordon was very instrumental in teaching Michael how to market himself, basically become a solo. Yeah, that's a fact too. It's still a business. As much as show business. Always remember that.
To them. When Barry was in the studio with us, he would always add something that was right. He'd go from studio to studio, checking on different aspects of people's work, often adding elements that made the records better. Walt Disney used to do the same thing. He'd go check on his various artists and say, well, this character should be more outgoing. I always knew when Barry was enjoying something I was doing in the studio because he has this habit of rolling his tongue in his cheek when he's pleased by something. If things were really going well, he'd punch the air like the ex-professional boxer he is. My 3 favorite songs from those days are Never Can Say Goodbye, I'll Be There, and ABC. I'll never forget the first time I heard ABC. I thought it was so good. I remember feeling this eagerness to sing that song, to get in the studio and really make it work for us. We were still rehearsing daily and working hard. Some things didn't change, but we were grateful to be where we were. There were so many people.
That's I was supposed to do, man. There's so many lists I'm supposed to do. I promise I'm gonna try to get it done by this weekend. Do my favorite Jackson 5 songs, but off rip right now, without thinking, probably my top 3 favorite Jackson songs, Jackson 5 songs, not Jackson songs. We're strictly staying on Motown. Is I'll Be There, Love You Save, and I'll Be There, Love You Save, and probably it might be Never Can Say Goodbye. That was still Motown, right? Never Can Say Goodbye. That was still Motown, right? Yeah, Never Can Say Goodbye. Yeah, I think that's my top three off the top without me really thinking.
pulling for us, and we were so determined ourselves that it seemed anything could happen. Once I Want You Back came out, everyone at Motown prepared us for success. Diana loved it and presented us at a big-name Hollywood discotheque where she had us playing in a comfortable party atmosphere like at Barry's. Following directly on the heels of Diana's event came an invitation to play at the Miss Black America telecast. Being on the show would enable us to give people a preview of our record and our show. After we got the invitation, my brothers and I remembered our disappointment at not getting to go to New York to do our first TV show because Motown had called. Now we were going to do our first TV show, and we were with Motown. Life was very good. Diana, of course, put the cherry on top. She was going to host the Hollywood Palace and big Saturday night show. It would be her last appearance with the Supremes and the first major exposure for us. This meant a lot to Motown because by then they had decided that our new album would be called Diana Ross Presents the Jackson 5. Never before had a superstar like Diana passed the torch to a bunch of kids. Motown, Diana, and 5 kids from Gary, Indiana were all pretty excited. By then, I Want You Back had come out, and Barry was proven right again. All the stations that played Sly and the Beatles were playing us too. As I mentioned earlier, we didn't work as hard on the album as we did on the single, but we had fun trying out all sorts of songs, from Who's Lovin' You, the old Miracles song we were doing in the talent show days, to Zip-a-dee-doo-dah. We did songs on that
Yo,
album
that's
that
my joint.
appealed to a wide
I ain't gonna hold
audience,
you.
kids, teenagers.
Zippity doo that. That might be top three. That might be the top three, dog. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yo, that might be up there, bro. Zippity, yeah. Wonderful feeling. Yo. Yo, John just got so many hits, bro. It don't make no sense, dog.
Teenagers and grown-ups, and we all felt that was a reason for its big success. We knew that the Hollywood Palace had a live audience, a sophisticated Hollywood crowd, and we were concerned, but we had them from the first note. There was an orchestra in the pit, so that was the first time I heard all of I Want You Back performed live, because I wasn't there when they recorded the strings for the album. Doing that show made us feel like kings the way winning the citywide show in Gary had. Selecting the right songs for us to do was going to be a real challenge now that we weren't depending on other people's hits to win crowd. The Corporation guys and Hal Davis were put to work writing songs especially for us, as well as producing them. Barry didn't want to have to bail us all out again. So even after our first singles hit #1 on the charts, we were busy with the follow-ups. I Want You Back could have been sung by a grown-up, but ABC and The Love You Save were written for our young voices, with parts for Jermaine as well as me. Another bow to the Sly sound, which rotated singers around the stage. The Corporation had also written those songs with dance routines in mind. The steps our fans did at parties, as well as those we did on stage. The verses were tongue-twisting, and that's why they were split up between Jermaine and me. Neither of those records could have happened without I Want You Back. We were adding and subtracting ideas in the arrangements from that one mother lode of a song, but the public seemed to want everything we were doing. We later made 2 more records in the vein, Mama's Pearl and Sugar Daddy, which reminded me of my own schoolyard days. While I'm giving you the candy, he's getting all your love. We added one new wrinkle when Jermaine and I sang harmony together, which always got an enthusiastic response when we did it from the same mic on stage. The pros have told us that no group had a better start than we did.
Facts.
Ever.
Facts.
I'll Be There was our real breakthrough song. It was the one that said, "We're here to stay." It was #1 for 5 weeks, which is very unusual. That's a long time for a song, and the song was one of my favorites of all the songs we've ever done. How I love the words, "You and I must make a pact, we must bring salvation back." Willie Hutch and Berry Gordy didn't seem like people who'd write like that. They were always kidding around with us when we weren't in the studio.
That sounds like something that Michael would have. I'll Be There sounds like something Michael would have wrote in his solo days, his epic days. It really, epic. It definitely sounded like something he would have wrote.
But that song grabbed me from the moment I heard the demo.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what a harpsichord was until that record's opening notes were played for us. The
Mm-hmm.
song was produced thanks to the genius of Hal Davis, assisted by Susie Akita, my other half, who stood next to me, song after song, making sure I put the right emotion and feeling and heart into the composition. It was a serious song, but we threw in a fun part when I sang, "Just look over your shoulder, honey."
Ooh.
Without the honey, that's right out of the Four Tops' great song, "Reach Out, I'll Be There." So we were feeling more and more like a part of Motown's history as well as its future. Originally, the plan was for me to sing all the bouncy stuff and Jermaine to do the ballads, but though Jermaine's voice at 17 was more mature, ballads were more my love, if not really my style, yet.
Yeah.
That was our fourth straight #1 as a group, and a lot of people liked Jermaine's song, "I Found That Girl," the B-side of "The Love You Save," just as much as the hits. We worked those songs into one big medley with plenty of room for dancing, and we went back to that medley when we...
I'll be there from I'll be there to will you be there? Look how I come around though.
We performed on all kinds of TV shows. For instance, we played on The Ed Sullivan Show 3 different times. Motown always told us what to say in interviews back then, but Mr. Sullivan was one of the people who drew us out and made us feel comfortable. Looking back, I wouldn't say Motown was putting us in any kind of straitjacket or turning us into robots, even though I wouldn't have done it that way myself. And if I had children, I wouldn't tell them what to say. The Motown people were doing something with us that hadn't been done before, and who was to say what was the right way to handle that sort of stuff? Reporters would ask us all kinds of questions, and the Motown people would be standing by to help us out or monitor the questions if need be. We wouldn't have dreamed of trying anything that would embarrass them. I guess they were worried about the possibility of our sounding militant the way people were often doing in those days. Maybe they were worried after they gave us those afros that they had created little Frankensteins. Once a reporter asked a Black Power question, and the Motown person told him, "We didn't think about that stuff because we were a commercial product." It sounded weird, but we winked and gave the power salute when we left, which seemed to thrill the guy. We even had a reunion with Don Cornelius on his Soul Train show. He had been a local disc jockey during our Chicago days, so we all knew one another from that time. We enjoyed watching his show and picked up ideas from those dancers who were from our part of the country. The crazy days of the big Jackson 5 tours began right after the successes we had with our records. It started with a big arena tour in the fall of 1970. We played huge halls like Madison Square Garden and the Los Angeles Forum. When Never Can Say Goodbye was a big hit in 1971, we played 45 cities that summer, followed by 50 more cities later that year.
What? Y'all play 45 cities? 45 cities? Plus another 50 cities. What? That's crazy. 45 cities? Just for the summer? Bruh. 45 in a summer, dog. That's mind blowing. Yo, talk about work. How did Michael in the Jazz not want to quit music after after Motown? Like, I'm shocked they still wanted to do it. 45 cities in the summer. How did they sleep? Did they sleep? Cause you still got to practice, rehearsal. 45. That's wild, bro.
I recall most of that time as a period of extreme closeness with my brothers. We have always been a very loyal and affectionate group. We clowned around, goofed off a lot together, and played outrageous pranks on each other and the people who worked with us. We never got too rowdy. No TVs sailed out of our hotel windows, but a lot of water was spilled on various heads. We were mostly trying to conquer the boredom we felt from being so long on the road. When you're bored on tour, you tend to do anything to cheer yourself up. Here we were, cramped up in these hotel rooms, unable to go anywhere because of the mobs of screaming girls outside, and we wanted to have some fun. I wish we could have captured some of the stuff we did on film, especially some of the wild pranks. We'd all wait until our security manager, Bill Bray, was asleep. Then we'd stage insane fast walk races in the hallways, Pillow fights, tag team wrestling matches, shaving cream wars, you name it. We were
Shaving cream.
nuts. We'd drop balloons and paper bags full of water off hotel balconies and watch them explode. Then we'd die laughing. We threw stuff at each other and spent hours on the phone making fake calls and ordering immense room service meals
Oh my
that were
God.
delivered to the rooms of strangers. Anyone who walked into one of our bedrooms
These
had
guys were the little rascals. Hot damn. Like, yo, these guys were menaces. Like, meanwhile, probably like Jackie, who's the oldest? It's Jackie and Jermaine. Meanwhile, Jack and Jermaine probably trying to do a little bit different stuff. Probably. But yeah, that's crazy.
a 90% chance of being drenched by a bucket of water propped over the doors. When we'd arrive in a new city, we'd try to do all the sightseeing we could. We traveled with a wonderful tutor, Rose Fine, who taught us a great deal and made sure we did our lessons. It was Rose who instilled in me a love of books and literature that sustains me today. I read everything I could get my hands on. New cities meant new places to shop. We loved to shop, especially in bookstores and department stores, but as our fame spread, our fans transformed casual shopping trips into hand-to-hand combat. Being mobbed by near-hysterical girls was one of the most terrifying experiences for me in those days. I mean, it was rough. We'd decide to run into some department store to see what they had, and the fans would find out we were there and would demolish the place, just tear it up. Counters would get knocked over, glass would break, the cash registers would be toppled. All we had wanted to do was look at some clothes. When those mob scenes broke out, all the craziness and adulation and notoriety became more than we could handle. If you haven't witnessed a scene like that, you can't imagine what it's like. Those girls were serious. They still are. They don't realize they might hurt you because they're acting out of love. They mean well, but I can testify that it hurts to be mobbed. You feel as if you're going to suffocate or be dismembered. There are 1,000 hands grabbing at you. One girl is twisting your wrist this way while another girl is pulling your watch off.
Wow.
They grab your hair and pull it hard, and it hurts like fire. You fall against things and the scrapes are horrible. I still wear the scars, and I can remember in which city I got each of them. Early on, I learned how to run through crowds of thrashing girls outside of theaters, hotels, and airports. It's important to remember to shield your eyes with your hands because girls can forget they have nails during such emotional confrontations. I know the fans mean well, and I love them for their enthusiasm and support, but crowd scenes are scary. The wildest mob scene I ever witnessed happened the first time we went to England. We were in the air over the Atlantic when the pilot announced that he had just been told there were 10,000 kids waiting for us at Heathrow Airport.
What?
We couldn't believe it. We were excited, but if we could have turned around and flown home, we might have. We knew this was going to be something, but since there wasn't enough fuel to go back, we flew on. When we landed, we could see that the fans had literally taken over the whole airport.
Oh
It was
my
wild to
gosh.
be mobbed like that. My brothers and I felt fortunate to make it out of the airport alive that day. I wouldn't trade my memories of those days.
Yeah. Yeah, like you wonder. Yeah, this is why he wore shades and masks all the time and disguises all the time. Like, he had to do that. He had to deal with that as a children. He had to deal with that as a child. Like, just a mob of people. And for someone like me who was an antisocial extrovert, shout out to Kendrick Lamar, like, oh my God, I can't stand being touched. Like, I can't, unless it's somebody that I rock with, I cannot stand being touched. And be touched by random people, I don't care if they're a fan or not. Like, that's gotta, like, that makes my skin crawl. Like, that's gotta be scary as hell. Like, it remind me of the scene from American Dream where they were on stage, then the fans just mobbed the stage, so they had to run out of the arena and get into the limo. Like, I don't know. I always ask myself, looks like you're getting a little choppy. Hold on. Just hold on. Look like the stream a little choppy. Hold on, we waiting. Come on, Signal. Get it together. Come on, we're almost at the home stretch, baby. Come on. All right, look like we good. All right, we almost home. Almost home. When I think of home, I think of a place where that's love overflowing. All right, let's go. Let's go. But yeah, I always thought to myself, if I ever saw Michael in person, what would I do? And it's like, part of me feels like I would just freeze and like, I would just freeze and be like in shock. And then another part of me feels like I would be like, I don't want to bother him. I don't want to bother him. I don't want to bother him. And then the other part of me, another part of me feels like I'll be like, Michael, I'm so sorry. Like I would be like, I would treat him like a king. Like, so sorry, Michael. I'm so sorry. But please, can I please just like, I don't know, get a picture or something with you, dog. Like I got to, bro. Like you, Michael Jackson, dog. Like so, I don't know. I don't know what I would do if I had ever saw Michael in person, bro. Like, how do you not be like, that's Michael freaking Jackson, dog? I gotta like, I want to touch him. I'd be like, bro, I gotta get a picture with you or something. Like, I gotta like make sure this is real. I don't know. At the same time, I don't want to bother him though. They'd be like, man, I feel like I'm bothering him. Like he just wanted to go about his day. I don't know, but Michael always loved the fans though. Like he always showed love. Like you never see one instance where he treated his fans badly in public. So I just think it's how you do it. Just I'll be super respectful, you know.
Days with my brothers for anything. I often wish I could relive those days. We were like the seven dwarfs. Each of us was different. Each had his own personality.
Yeah.
Jackie was the athlete and the worrier. Tito was the strong, compassionate father figure. He was totally into cars and loved putting them together and tearing them apart. Jermaine was the one I was closest to when we were growing up. He was funny and easygoing and was constantly fooling around. It was Jermaine who put all those buckets of cold water on the doors of our hotel rooms.
Oh.
Marlon was and is one of the most determined people I've ever met. He too was a real joker and prankster. He used to be the one who'd always get in trouble in the early days because he'd be out of step or miss a note, but that was far from true later. The diversity of my brothers' personalities and the closeness we felt were what kept me going during those grueling days of constant touring. Everybody helped everybody. Jackie and Tito would keep us from going too far with our pranks. They'd seem to have us under control, and then Jermaine and Marlon would shout, "Let's go crazy!" I really miss all that. In the early days, we were together.
Let's go crazy? Let's get nuts?
All the time. We'd go to amusement parks or ride horses or watch movies. We did everything together. As soon as someone said, "I'm going swimming," we'd all yell, "Me too." The separation from my brothers started much later when they began to get married. An understandable change occurred as each of them became closest to his wife, and they became a family unit unto themselves. A part of me wanted us to stay as we were brothers who were also best friends. But change is inevitable and always good in one sense or another. We still love each other's company. We still have a great time when we're together. But the various paths our lives have taken won't allow us the freedom to enjoy one another's company as much as we did. In those days, touring with the Jackson 5, I always shared a room with Jermaine. He and I were close, both on stage and off, and shared a lot of the same interests. Since Jermaine was also the brother most intrigued by the girls who wanted to get at him, he and I would get into mischief on the road. I think our father decided early on that he had to keep a more watchful eye on us than on our other brothers. He would usually take the room next to ours, which meant he could come in to check on us any time through the connecting doors. I really despised this arrangement, not only because he could monitor our misbehavior, but also because he used to do the meanest things to us. Jermaine and I would be sleeping, exhausted after a show, and my father would bring a bunch of girls into the room. We'd wake up and they'd be standing there looking at us, giggling. Because show business and my career were my life,
I knew I wasn't crazy. I remember hearing that story about Joe putting random girls into his room and just locking the door. I forget where I heard that from. But that's crazy, bro. Like, for your father to do that? Like what? Like what do you what? Like what? I don't understand. What would be the goal there? Seriously, like what would be the goal there to do that? That's crazy.
The biggest personal struggle I had to face during those teenage years did not involve the recording studios or my stage performance. In those days, the biggest struggle was right there in my mirror. To a great degree, my identity as a person was tied to my identity as a celebrity. My appearance began to really change when I was about 14. I grew quite a bit in height. People who didn't know me would come into a room expecting to be introduced to cute little Michael Jackson, and they'd walk right past me. I would say, "I'm Michael," and they would look doubtful. Michael was a cute little kid. I was a gangly adolescent heading toward 5 feet 10 inches. I was not the person they expected or even wanted to see. Adolescence is hard enough, but imagine having your own natural insecurities about the changes your body is undergoing, heightened by the negative reactions of others. They seemed so surprised that I could change, that my body was undergoing the same natural change everyone's does. It was tough. Everyone had called me cute for a long time, but along with all the other changes, my skin broke out in a terrible case of acne. I looked in the mirror one morning and it was like, oh no, I seemed to have a pimple for every oil gland. And the more I was bothered by it, the worse it got. I didn't realize it then, but my diet of greasy processed food didn't help either. I became subconsciously scarred by this experience with my skin. I got very shy and became embarrassed to meet people because my complexion was so bad. It really seemed that the more I looked in the mirror, the worse the pimples got. My appearance began to depress me. So I know that a case of acne can have a devastating effect on a person. The effect on me was so bad that it messed up my whole personality. I couldn't look at people when I talked to them. I looked down or away. I felt I didn't have anything to be proud of, and I didn't even want to go out. I didn't do anything. My brother Marlon would be covered with pimples, and he wouldn't care, but I didn't want to see anybody, and I didn't want anyone to see my skin in that shape. It makes you wonder about what makes us the way we are, that two brothers could be so different. I still had our hits records to be proud of, and once I hit the stage, I didn't think about anything else. All that worry was gone. But once I came off stage, there was that mirror to face again. Eventually, things changed. I started feeling differently about my condition. I've learned to change how I think and learned to feel better about myself. Most importantly, I changed my diet. That was the key. In the fall of 1971, I cut my first solo record.
Yeah, no more KFC, Michael. You can't have no more KFC, bro.
Be there. It was wonderful working on that record, and it became one of my favorites. It was Berry Gordy's idea that I should do a solo recording, and so I became one of the first people in a Motown group to really step out. Berry also said he thought I should record my own album. Years later, when I did, I realized he was right. There was a small conflict during that era that was typical of the struggles I went through as a young singer. When you're young and have ideas, people often think you're just being childish and silly. We were on tour in 1972. The year Got to Be There became a big hit. One night I said to our record manager, before I sing that song, let me go off stage and grab that little hat I wore for the picture on the album cover. If the audience sees me wearing that hat, they'll go crazy. He thought it was the most ridiculous idea he had ever heard.
What?
I was not allowed to do it because I was young, and they all thought it was a dumb idea.
What?
Not long after that incident, Donny Osmond began wearing a very similar hat all over the country,
Bruh.
and people loved it. I felt good about my instincts.
So he said, oh, you're not going to let me do it here? I got you. Motown 25. I got you. Don't worry about it. That's crazy. Michael even then knew. Like, come on. Like, what are we talking about? Michael even knew then. Like, they going to go crazy. They familiarize themselves with my attire, with the hat. Like, they're going to know. They're going to recognize it. Like, sometimes children... I believe that children are the future. Let them go and let them lead the way. Like, come on, man. Shout out to Natalie Francis. What flag is this? I'm sorry, I'm not up to date on my flags. But much love, much love. Likewise, likewise. But to be, being that strategic at that young age is crazy. He's like, when he see the hat, they're gonna go crazy. Like, no, don't do that. Like, huh? Like, I'm on an album cover. I'm on posters. You don't think you're not going crazy for the hat? Sometimes adults, man, I don't know what they be on, but that's crazy. And then Ozzy, what he said? Osbourne, one of the Osbournes, ran with it.
Thought it would work. I had seen Marvin Gaye wear a hat when he sang "Let's Get It On," and people went bananas.
Yeah,
they knew
the
what was
red.
coming when Marvin put that hat on. It added excitement and communicated something to the audience that allowed them to become more involved with the show. I was already a devoted fan of film and animation by the time the Jackson 5 Saturday morning cartoon show started appearing over network television in 1971. Diana Ross had enhanced my appreciation of animation when she taught me to draw, but being a cartoon character pushed me over the brink into a full-time love of the movies and the kind of animated motion pictures pioneered by Walt Disney. I have such admiration for Mr. Disney and what he accomplished with the help of so many talented artists. When I think about the joy he and his company have brought to millions of children and adults the world over, I am in awe. I loved being a cartoon. It was so much fun to get up on Saturday mornings to watch cartoons and look forward to seeing ourselves on the screen. It was like a fantasy come true for all of us. My first real involvement with films came when I sang the title song for the movie Ben in 1972. Ben meant a lot to me. Nothing had ever excited me as much as going to the studio to put my voice on film. I had a great time. Later, when the movie came out, I'd go to the theater and wait until the end when the credits would flash on and it would say, Ben sung by Michael Jackson. I was really impressed by that. I loved the song and loved the story. Actually, the story was a lot like E.T. It was about a boy who befriended a rat. People didn't understand the boy's love for this little creature. He was dying of some disease, and his only true friend was Ben, the leader of the rats in the city where they lived. A lot of people thought the movie was a bit odd, but I was not one of them. The song went to #1 and is still a favorite of mine. I have always loved animals, and I enjoy reading about them and seeing movies in which they're featured. Chapter 3, Dancing Machine.
All right, hold on, Michael. Hold on, cuz. That's great. I think that's Ben is his first. I think that's his first solo #1, right? But wow, shout out to Trinidad, Tobago, Caribbean. Let's go. Yeah, that's crazy. Like the instincts this guy had. Again, because Michael, for those that haven't been here the whole time, Michael really studied when he was rising to, him and his brothers were rising through the ranks of trying to get to Motown, like, and they finally got to certain places. Michael would truly study the greats, James Brown, Jackie Wilson, Gene Kelly, all of them, like the movements, what they did, the mannerisms, and also just Michael has certain instincts that you can't teach. You can't teach those type of instincts to be like, yo, let me grab the hat, let me wear the hat. They're gonna know what song I'm doing. Like imagine if he would have did that every time he did "Who's Loving You." Like if he did "Who's Loving You" every time he grabbed the hat, bruh, the people go crazy. I don't think I've seen the movie. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that movie. Nah. But has anybody watched the Michael Jackson cartoons? Because I've never seen one episode of them. So that might be something I can do. Again, it might not be live, but I might be able to watch those. But this is we've been on 3 hours and 45 minutes. Holy. True student of the game. So that is it for today. I'm about to do my Mr. Rogers. It's a great feeling. So that is chapter 1 and chapter 2 of the Moonwalk book. Again, I've never listened to it or read it. So this is very cool because especially Again, not to plug my Patreon all the time, but if you haven't, definitely go look up, or no, it's not on YouTube because it won't allow it to be on YouTube. Definitely look up the Michael Jackson Lost Tapes, Memoirs. It's on my Patreon. I might even do y'all a favor and make it free. I probably could do that right now, Chloe, too, if I can get to it. This is what I'm gonna do for y'all. For those that are on this live right now, I'm gonna probably put a link after I end this live to the lost tapes of Michael Jackson's Memoirs, and y'all be able to get it. You don't have to subscribe to the Patreon, nothing like that. But like a lot of what he was saying in the Memoirs, I can't say that word, Memoirs, is what was in the book here. Yeah, so I gotta do that. I'm gonna try to do it right now so I don't forget. I got so much on my Patreon right now. It's crazy. I don't know what I've been doing. But again, shout out to everybody that has. Okay, I'm gonna have to do it from the browser. All right, don't worry. Yeah, you got to go back and listen to chapter 1. Definitely gotta go back. Just you can rewatch this live. Just rewind it. You can just rewind it. Yeah, shout out to everybody in the live. This is the not criteria, syllabus for this weekend. Saturday, we're going to do my top 10 Jackson's songs, both Motown, not both Motown, from the Motown to the post Motown days. Just overall top 10 Jackson songs. So we're gonna put that on the docket for this weekend. I'm gonna go over that list. If I can get away with doing the Jackson's cartoon, I'm gonna see if I can. If I can't get a workaround on that, then we'll probably do one of the videos from Chris Leapy doing a breakdown of somebody. It doesn't have to be Michael Jackson. And then we're going to finish chapter 3 and 4 of the audiobook from Michael. So that is the goal for this upcoming weekend or Saturday. But again, I haven't gone live in a long time. I feel like, when the last time I went live? I feel like I haven't went live since at least since February, I want to say. Yeah, I probably haven't gone live since February. So it's been a minute. But shout out to y'all. So 5 months. So yeah, it's been since February I've gone live. So I want to do this a little bit more often. Connect with y'all. See how y'all doing. What y'all up to. Bother y'all. While I have the free time. No doubt. No, thank you. Thank you for joining the live, man. Thank you for joining. So, yeah, man, that is the goal. Go live a little bit more frequently. I know going live during a weekday and in the morning probably isn't the most ideal, but that's the only time I have. So this weekend when I'm actually free, I'm gonna try to do it when I can. So, but this was definitely fun. Boy, I got so much stuff that I'm gonna drop on y'all that y'all don't even know about. I got so much videos I'm dropping on y'all this upcoming weekend. Y'all don't even know. But I'm trying my best, man. I'm trying to give y'all as much content as possible while I have the free time, because I have a feeling probably by September I'm gonna be really busy. So I want to do, when I have the chance, I'm gonna do what I can. But yeah, man, like, comment, subscribe, all the things are the things. Oh, again, I'll say within the next 5 minutes, or even, within the next 5 minutes on my community tab, I'm going to put on the community tab the free link to my Patreon That way you can listen to the memoirs of Michael. You don't have to subscribe to my Patreon. You just listen to it. That's a treat for those that are actually in here and live that actually were able to be here today. But yep, this was fun. This was dope. But like, comment, subscribe, share all the things of the things. I will see y'all soon. Keep a lookout. Hit the notification button, because when I tell you, I'm going to be spamming y'all god dang feeds. There's a lot. There is a lot. So stay tuned, because there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to be spamming on your feed over the next few days or so. So keep alert. But appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Ain't got to go home. Do got to get to stepping. Peace.